हर टीम ग्रैंड फाइनल्स में ये बिलीव करके आती है कि वो चैंपियन बन सकती है, लेकिन टीम एपेक्स गेमिंग जो उस वक्त अपने ओरिजिनल बैनर टीम हिंद के नाम से खेल रही थी, उनकी कहानी थोड़ी अलग थी। तेज FFMIC 2026 स्प्रिंग के ग्रैंड फाइनल्स के स्टेज पर कदम रखने से काफी पहले, पहला मैच शुरू होने से पहले, पहला पॉइंट मिलने से पहले उन्होंने अपना एंडिंग इमेजिन कर लिया था। उनके लिए ट्रॉफी पहले ही उनकी थी। ये ओवर कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं था, ये बिलीव था। सालों तक साथ खेलने का बिलीव, हर सेटबैक से वापस उठने का बिलीव और नॉकआउट स्टेज क्रॉस करके इंडिया की बेस्ट टीम के सामने खड़े होने का बिलीव। अब सिर्फ एक सवाल बाकी था, क्या वो बिलीव रियलिटी बन सकता था?
जो अपना FFMIC 2026 था अपना स्प्रिंग, उसमें हमने मेनली फोकस किया था अपनी 4v4 फाइट्स में। हमने जितना ज्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग कर सकते थे हमने उसको स्ट्रॉन्ग किया, अपने कोऑर्डिनेशन पे काम किया। तो फिर ऐसा हो गया था कि फिर एक टाइम पे हम कोई भी टीम को 4v4 इजिली मार दे रहे थे। उसी से फिर हमको कॉन्फिडेंस आ गया था कि 4v4 फाइट अपनी बहुत ज्यादा स्ट्रॉन्ग है, बस जोन्स और बाकी सब चीज पे अपने को ध्यान देना है, बाकी फाइट्स तो हम निकाल ही लेंगे।
लेकिन चैंपियनशिप डिसाइड होने से पहले एक और हर्डल बाकी था, पॉइंट रश। 6 मैचेस, एक दिन, और वही डिसाइड करता था कि चैंपियनशिप डे पर हर टीम कितने हेड स्टार्ट पॉइंट्स के साथ शुरुआत करेगी। यहाँ ट्रॉफी नहीं मिलनी थी, सिर्फ मोमेंटम, और टीम हिंद ने इसी चीज को टारगेट बनाया। उन्होंने लॉबी डोमिनेट करने की कोशिश नहीं की, हर गेम में अननेसेसरी फाइट्स नहीं ली, जहां अपॉर्चुनिटी मिली वहां कैपिटलाइज किया। और जब मैच 5 आया, टीम हिंद ने पूरे पॉइंट रश का अपना बेस्ट परफॉर्मेंस दिया। एक और ग्रेनेड यहाँ पर से कोकरा जाएगा,
बिल्कुल अकेले, नीचे 3 खिलाड़ी अकेले डैश करेंगे, एंड देयर कम्स द टीम हिंद विद द बोया बोया बोया।
19 एलिमिनेशन के साथ बूया, एक स्टेटमेंट गेम। दिन के एंड तक टीम हिंद ओवरऑल 3rd प्लेस पर फिनिश हुई। रिवॉर्ड मिला 5 हेड स्टार्ट पॉइंट्स।
ग्रैंड फाइनल्स में तो हमारा स्टार्टिंग में टारगेट यही था कि हमको 3 से 4 गेम में चैंपियन रश ऑन करना है, बट ऐसा हुआ कि हमारे गेम्स बहुत ज्यादा एवरेज चले गए कुछ रीजंस की वजह से।
चैंपियन रश डे की शुरुआत हुई और शुरुआती 4 मैचेस में एक बात क्लियर हो गई, ये टूर्नामेंट किसी एक टीम का नहीं होने वाला था। हर गेम का हीरो अलग था। मैच 1 में फायर आइज गेमिंग ने पेस सेट किया। मैच 2 में गॉडलाइक Esports ने लॉबी कंट्रोल कर ली। उसके बाद RNX Esports ने बैक टू बैक बुयाज लेकर पूरा लीडर बोर्ड हिला दिया। हर मैच के बाद स्टैंडिंग्स बदल रही थी, हर फाइट टाइटल रेस को एक नई डायरेक्शन दे रही थी, और टीम हिंद वो क्वाइटली रेस के अंदर बनी रही। चैंपियन रश फॉर्मेट में कभी कभी सरवाइव करते रहना लीड करने से भी ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट होता है, क्योंकि जब बाकी टीम्स एक गेम में टॉप करती और अगले गेम में क्रैश हो जाती, वहीं टीम हिंद कभी पिक्चर से बाहर नहीं हुई, वो बस अपने मोमेंट का वेट कर रही थी।
फिर उसके बाद हमको अपना गेम प्लान चेंज करना पड़ा।
फिर हमारा बरमुदा मैप आया जिसमें हमको ज्यादा एलिमिनेशंस की नीड थी, तो हमने उसी के हिसाब से उस गेम को खेला और
5th और 6th गेम में बहुत ज्यादा एग्रेसिव गए, तो उससे अपने को बहुत ज्यादा फायदा हुआ।
4 मैचेस बीत चुके थे, टीम हिंद अब भी अपने ब्रेक थ्रू का इंतजार कर रही थी, और दूसरी तरफ गॉडलाइक Esports धीरे धीरे चैंपियनशिप के सबसे बड़े कंटेंडर्स बन के उभर चुकी थी। हर पासिंग गेम के साथ प्रेशर बढ़ता जा रहा था, अब एक और एवरेज मैच का ऑप्शन ही नहीं था। इसी बीच आई एक रोटेशन केप टाउन से कोटा टुआ की तरफ, और वही हुआ जिसने टीम हिंद के टूर्नामेंट की डायरेक्शन ही बदल दी। सीधा सामने थे डिफेंडिंग चैंपियंस आईक्यू टोटल गेमिंग। ये सिर्फ एक और स्क्वाड फाइट नहीं थी, आईक्यू टोटल गेमिंग के लिए ये चैंपियनशिप रेस में बने रहने का मौका था, और टीम हिंद के लिए ये वो फाइट थी जो उनके पूरे टूर्नामेंट को या तो जिंदा रख सकती थी या वहीं खत्म कर सकती थी।
सामने की तरफ से टीम हिंद इसके ऊपर अटैक करती हुई इस तरह से लीड आगे बढ़ते हुए बुलविन को डाउन करने की कोशिश है। माफिया ही इज द लास्ट मैन स्टैंडिंग, बिकॉज़ आईक्यू टोटल गेमिंग इज येट टू टच द 80 पॉइंट मार्क। क्या माफिया अपने खिलाड़ियों को गेम के अंदर इस मुकाबले में वापस ला पाएंगे? जी नहीं, 10वें पायदान पे आईक्यू टोटल गेमिंग का खात्मा होता हुआ।
और उस मोमेंट के बाद पूरा मैप टीम हिंद के लिए खुल गया, और धीरे धीरे लॉबी सिर्फ 3 स्क्वाड्स तक सीमित हो गई। अब टीम हिंद सिर्फ रेस में नहीं थी, अब पूरी लॉबी को पता चल चुका था ये टीम चैंपियनशिप जीत भी सकती है।
हमको तो शुरू से ऐसे गेम की नीड थी चैंपियन बनने के लिए, क्योंकि एवरेज सा ही गेम हमारा जा रहा था शुरू से, या फिर आप फर्स्ट देख लो, सेकंड देख लो, थर्ड देख लो, पूरी टीम मतलब बूस्ट अप हो जाए और चैंपियन की तरफ आगे बढ़े।
गुजरात, कैन यू फील द फायर?
मैच 5 ने टीम हिंद के चैंपियनशिप ड्रीम को दोबारा जिंदा कर दिया, लेकिन अगले 2 गेम्स उस ड्रीम को फिर से तोड़ने पर आ गए। मैच 6 8th प्लेस फिनिश।
बट वो 16 वाला मैच में हमने थोड़ी सी गलती की, कोऑर्डिनेशन में इशू आया, वो फाइट अपन हार गए।
हाँ, एक चीज जरूर हुई, टीम हिंद ने चैंपियन रश एक्टिवेट कर लिया।
तो चैंपियन रश ऑन होने के बाद हमारी स्ट्रेटजी में हमने चेंज लाया था, क्योंकि उससे पहले हमने बहुत सारे टूर्नामेंट्स में भी प्रैक्टिस की थी जब चैंपियन रश ऑन होने के बाद बुया करने की, तो फिर हम उसी स्ट्रेटजी के साथ आगे गए थे।
चैंपियन रश सिर्फ आपका ऑब्जेक्टिव चेंज नहीं करता, पूरी लॉबी का गेम प्लान बदल देता है। अब हर टीम को पता था टीम हिंद को बस एक और बुया चाहिए, सिर्फ एक, और चैंपियनशिप खत्म। प्रेशर सिर्फ टीम हिंद पर नहीं था, प्रेशर उन हर टीम पर था जो उन्हें उस एक बुया से रोकना चाहती थी।
फिर अपने को नेक्स्ट गेम में चांस मिला एंड हम सेम स्ट्रेटजी के साथ गए।
मैच 7 में गॉडलाइक के अगेंस्ट एक रिस्की पुश, और इस बार सब कुछ उल्टा पड़ गया।
हिंद को होल्ड बैक नहीं करना चाह रहे, स्क्वाड को स्पॉट आउट करा, स्पॉट करते ही अंदर घुसे टीम गॉडलाइक, दे आर इन ट्रबल। यहाँ पर से मार्को को भी गिरा दिया जाएगा, केडी गॉर्डन बुलविन वो भी नॉकआउट होते हुए नजर आने वाले। साहिल जाट एक लौटे खिलाड़ी, उनको भी करा बाहर।
टीम हिंद लॉबी की पहली एलिमिनेटेड स्क्वाड बन गई। जो मोमेंटम मैच 5 में बना था वो एक ही गेम में रुक सा गया।
तो मतलब हम 7th मैच में जब एलिमिनेट हुए तो मतलब सब वैसे ही सैड हो गए, फिर डिमोटिवेट टाइप के होने लगे। फिर जैसे ही हमने देखा कि 7th मैच में आरएनटी ने बुया करा, तो फिर मतलब सब एकदम ऐसे खुश हो गए और फिर एक दूसरे में मतलब चेयर अप करने लगे कि मतलब अब तो करना ही है, अब तो चैंपियन बनना ही है।
अब हर मिस हुई बुया सिर्फ पॉइंट्स का नुकसान नहीं थी, वो बाकी टीम्स को एक और चीज दे रही थी, होप। मैच 7 के बाद इक्वेशन बिल्कुल बदल चुकी थी। चैंपियन रश एक्टिवेट करने वाली 7 टीम्स में वो सबसे पीछे थे, लीडर बोर्ड के लीडर से 24 पॉइंट्स पीछे। पहली बार चैंपियनशिप इतनी दूर लग रही थी। फाइनल गेम शुरू हुई।
उस मैच में हमारे साथ अनएक्सपेक्टेड चीजें भी हुई थी कि हमने एक स्प्लिट लिया था कमांड और स्टोन रिच पर, और हमारे पे पूरी टीम आ गई थी एक स्प्लिट पर। तो साहिल उधर स्टोन रिच पे मर गया और हमारा छोटा और मैं कमांड पे थे। तो वो फाइट इतनी जरूरी थी निकालनी, क्योंकि अगर वो फाइट हार जाते तो हमारी पूरी टीम एलिमिनेट हो जाती।
पड़ेगा डिलीट एंड चेक नॉक हो चुके हैं। इस दौरान 2 खिलाड़ी सर्वाइव करेंगे और माफिया यहाँ से लॉन्च पैड से निकल जाएंगे। कैश टेक में सफलता मिलेगी, माफिया के शॉट लिए गए और काफी जगह चोट लेकर आ गए।
अब सिर्फ एक ऑब्जेक्टिव था, फाइनल सर्कल तक पहुंचना। 4 टीम्स, चारों चैंपियन रश पर, एक ट्रॉफी, एक फाइनल सर्कल। जो ये गेम जीतेगा वही चैंपियन बनेगा। जोन और कोलैप्स हुई, अब कवर खत्म हो रहा था और इसी मोमेंट पर टीम हिंद ने सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट डिसीजन लिया। बाकी टीम्स हेजिटेट कर रही थी, टीम हिंद पहले मूव कर गई। रिस्क था, लेकिन उस रिस्क ने उन्हें सबसे वैल्यूएबल चीज दी, पोजीशन। अब बाकी टीम्स स्पेस के लिए लड़ रही थी और टीम हिंद के पास ऑलरेडी वो स्पेस थी। जोन के दूसरे साइड फायरस गेमिंग और आईक्यू टोटल गेमिंग एक डेस्परेट फाइट में उलझ चुके थे। दोनों जानती थी ये फाइट हारते ही टूर्नामेंट खत्म। दूसरी तरफ आरएनएक्स ने टीम हिंद पर प्रेशर बनाने की कोशिश की, लेकिन बेटर पोजीशनिंग का एडवांटेज टीम हिंद के पास था। पुश डाउन किया और आरएनएक्स एलिमिनेट, और अब सिर्फ 2 टीम्स बच गई थी, फायरस गेमिंग और टीम हिंद।
थोड़ा सा डैमेज होते हुए नजर आएंगे, बढ़ेंगे आगे की और स्काइलर का प्रयोग। ट्रोल को यहाँ पर से डैमेज अकेला गिरा, शॉटो करेंगे, ट्रोल के ऊपर अटैक है, ट्रोल को करा जाएगा नॉकआउट। प्रिंस एक लौटे खिलाड़ी, उनको भी करा बाहर। नेज फ्री फायर मैक्स इंडिया कप 2026 स्प्रिंग के विनर्स हमारे सामने, दे आर नन अदर देन टीम हिंद।
चैंपियनशिप्स सिर्फ फाइनल बुया से याद नहीं रखी जाती, ना सिर्फ ट्रॉफी लिफ्ट से, ना सेलिब्रेशन से और ना ही कॉन्फेटी से। उनकी फाउंडेशन उससे बहुत पहले पड़ती है। मेटा को समझने में, स्क्रिम्स के एंडलेस आवर्स में, हर हार के बाद हुई अनकंफर्टेबल डिस्कशंस में और उस बिलीफ में जो कभी टूटने नहीं दिया गया। टीम हिंद ने TEZ FFMIC 2026 स्प्रिंग इसीलिए नहीं जीता क्योंकि वो परफेक्ट थी, उन्होंने इसलिए जीता क्योंकि जब जब टूर्नामेंट ने उन्हें टेस्ट किया, हर बार उनके पास एक जवाब था। और अब एक नया चैप्टर शुरू हो रहा है। इस बार टीम हिंद के नाम से नहीं, टीम एपेक्स गेमिंग के नाम से। अब बाकी टीम्स ट्रॉफी के पीछे नहीं भागेंगे, वो भागेंगे डिफेंडिंग चैंपियंस के पीछे, क्योंकि फॉल सीजन में हर टीम का टारगेट एक होगा, टीम एपेक्स गेमिंग।
इस टाइटल को हमारे को डिफेंड करना एक बहुत बड़ी चीज़ है, क्योंकि हमारी अब रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी और ज़्यादा बढ़ गई है। जैसे कि हम और भी ज्वाइन करी और फैंस भी हमारे बहुत सारे नए जुड़े हैं हमारे साथ, तो हमारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि उनको निराश ना करना। एंड इस बार कंपटीशन भी बहुत ज़्यादा रहने वाला है, क्योंकि जो लास्ट टाइम टीम्स थी वो भी हैं और काफ़ी सारी नई टीम्स भी आई हैं, तो डेफिनेटली कंपटीशन बढ़ा है एंड उसलिए हमको भी उसके लिए और ज़्यादा मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी।
हमको इंटरनेशनल एक्सपोजर चाहिए था, तो हमने वो अचीव करा है। AWC 2026 के स्लॉट को अर्न करा है और मतलब अपने आप को मतलब प्रूफ करेंगे AWC में, ताकि अपने फैंस को निराश ना करें।
हर चैंपियनशिप में एक ऐसा प्लेयर होता है जो सिर्फ स्कोर बोर्ड पर नहीं, पूरे टूर्नामेंट की कहानी पर अपना नाम लिख देता है। TEZ FFMIC 2026 स्प्रिंग के लिए वो प्लेयर था हिंद वुल्विन। 22 एलिमिनेशन, 8300 प्लस डैमेज और ग्रैंड फाइनल्स का मोस्ट वैल्यूएबल प्लेयर।
जब मुझे MVP का टाइटल मिला तो मैं बहुत खुश था, क्योंकि मैंने इसी के लिए बहुत प्रैक्टिस करी थी। मेरे घर वाले भी बहुत खुश थे, क्योंकि वो देख रहे थे और उन्होंने देखा कि मुझे MVP मिला और चैंपियन हम बने। आपकी नज़रों में मैं MVP हूँ, बट मेरी नज़रों में मेरी पूरी टीम है, मतलब टीम वर्क ही मेरे लिए सबसे ज़्यादा है।
एक सफर यही खत्म होता है और एक नया सफर शुरू। अब बारी है टीम एपेक्स गेमिंग के बैनर के नीचे अपने टाइटल को डिफेंड करने की। TEZ FFMIC 2026 फॉल के दौरान हम लेकर आएंगे और भी बिहाइंड द सीन्स स्टोरीज, एक्सक्लूसिव प्लेयर इंटरव्यूज और टूर्नामेंट की हर बड़ी कहानी सबसे करीब से।
एंड होप सो इस बार भी हम वो टाइटल को जीतें।
ये मेरा गिटार कलेक्शन है। ये लोग मुझे हमेशा पूछते रहते ये तूने कलेक्ट कैसे किया, पर ये मेरी ज़िंदगी के सबसे बेशकीमती चीज़ नहीं है। मेरी ज़िंदगी की सबसे कीमती चीज़ है एक हार, जो मुझे मिली थी 25 अप्रैल को रात को 8 बजे। मैं अपने बेटे से हार गया। और तब मुझे समझ में आया कि हार के जीतने वाले को बाजीगर क्यों कहते हैं। मेरा नाम शैलेश पांडुरंग शिंदे है एंड आई एम फादर ऑफ इंडियाज बेस्ट रशर शोटो। So my grandfather was an extremely poor man. He was a truck driver. मेरे जो पिताजी है वही सबसे तेज़ दिमाग के थे हमारे घर में, जिन्होंने इंजीनियरिंग कंप्लीट की। और वो इंजीनियर बनने के बाद हमारा जो पॉवर्टी का फेज़ था, वो फेज़ में से हम लोग उन्नति की तरफ बढ़ने लगे। हमारा यही मानना है कि पढ़ाई करो, उसमें से ही आपकी उन्नति हो सकती है।
जब मैं शादी करके फर्स्ट टाइम यहाँ पे आई तो सब इंजीनियर, पूरा फैमिली, ससुर जी, देवर लोग, हस्बैंड भी मेरे इंजीनियर है और सबका एक्सपेक्टेशन था कि बच्चे भी इंजीनियर बने।
सच पूछो तो मुझे इंजीनियरिंग में दिलचस्पी बिल्कुल नहीं थी। मुझे बचपन से ही म्यूज़िक बहुत ज़्यादा पसंद है, लेकिन हमारे पिताजी ने कभी उसे सपोर्ट किया नहीं। तो जब मैं कॉलेज गया तो मैंने गिटार मांगा तो उन्होंने कभी दिया नहीं। वो मुझे तभी बर्थडे के लिए उन्होंने 1000 रुपये दिए थे कपड़े लेने के लिए। तो मैं तुरंत गया बॉम्बे में भार्गव स्टोर में से मैंने 800 रुपये का अकोस्टिक गिटार लाया था। तो उसके ऊपर से भी घर में काफ़ी प्रॉब्लम हो गई थी मुझे। तो वहाँ से मेरा म्यूज़िक बजाने का सफ़र डिप्लोमा के सेकंड ईयर में स्टार्ट हो गया था। डिग्री के फाइनल ईयर में ये जो पूना के जो कॉलेज के तभी इंटरनल सर्किट के फेस्टिवल्स हुआ करते थे, तो उन सारे सर्किट्स में मैंने प्ले कर चुका हूँ। 17 से 18 स्टेज शोज मैंने किए हुए। लेकिन ये पिताजी का सोच था कि ये जो कला क्षेत्र है, म्यूजिशियंस, आर्टिस्ट, ये सब फिजूल की बातें, इसमें कोई पैसा नहीं कमा सकता है, अपना पेट नहीं भर सकता है। तो उन्होंने मुझे भी कभी अलाउ नहीं किया। पर्सनली मैं काफ़ी क्रिकेट खेल चुका हूँ, कॉलेज के ड्यूरेशन में भी, उसके बाद भी, शादी होने के बाद भी मैं 10 साल तक क्रिकेट खेलते रहा हूँ ग्राउंड के ऊपर। मानव और जो सौरव है और ये प्रथमेश, ये तीनों को भी क्रिकेट बहुत पसंद था। पार्किंग में काफ़ी जगह है, वहाँ पे भी हम लोग गली क्रिकेट खेलते थे और ग्राउंड पे भी जाके खेल चुके।
मेरा बचपन में ड्रीम था कि मैं क्रिकेटर बनूं। मैंने वो बात अंदर ही रख ली थी, अगर क्रिकेटर बनना है तो अर्ली एज से स्टार्ट करना पड़ता है। तो फिर जब मैं बोलने वाला था तब लेट हो रखा था, लाइक मैं तब 6-7 स्टैंडर्ड में आ रखा था।
मैंने उसका गेम देखा था, अच्छा खेलता था और टाइमिंग भी अच्छा है, लेकिन वो बात नहीं करता है, तो उसने कभी मुझे बताया नहीं, वरना मैं थोड़ा सपोर्ट करता था उस बारे में।
मेरा इंस्पिरेशन तो मेरा बड़ा भाई प्रथमेश ही है, उसके ऐसे ही मतलब मैंने गेमिंग वगैरह स्टार्ट किया। उसका भी यूट्यूब चैनल था, वो भी स्ट्रीम वगैरह करता था, गेम वगैरह खेलता था।
फिर लॉकडाउन आ गया 8th स्टैंडर्ड में, सब ऑनलाइन पढ़ाई चालू हो गया, तो मेरे पास से आईपैड पे या मेरा मोबाइल, ऐसे दोनों ट्विंस मिलके खेलते थे।
टाइम मेरा भाई स्कूल के फ्रेंड्स के साथ खेलता था आईपैड में, मैं उसका गेम देखता था, फिर उसने मेरे को बताया कि ऐसा गेम है, तो मैं उसके साथ खेलना स्टार्ट किया।
तो फिर मैंने एक टाइम के बाद ब्रेक ले लिया था और उसने छोड़ा नहीं, वो खेलता रहा कंटिन्यू। तो फिर उसके गेम में नए फ्रेंड्स बने और फिर उसकी स्पोर्ट्स की जर्नी शायद उधर से ही स्टार्ट हो गई थी।
अगर मतलब पापा को पता चलता, वो तो पूरा अगेंस्ट थे गेमिंग के, वो तो मेरे को अलाउ नहीं करते थे गेम खेलने के लिए, उन्हें वेस्ट ऑफ टाइम लगता था गेम खेलना।
मेरे लिए स्पोर्ट वो है जहाँ पे आपका पसीना बहे, आपको चोटें आए, आपकी सांस फूले, धूप में खेलो, दिन भर खेलो। घर में बैठ के मानव या उसके जो दोस्त अभी कर रहे हैं, वो हमारे दृष्टिकोण में वो स्पोर्ट था ही नहीं।
मैंने पहले बचपन में बताया नहीं था घर वालों की मतलब मेरे को क्रिकेटर बनना है, बट मेरे को फ्री फायर मैक्स के टाइम ये सब नहीं करना था।
10th में उसका डिस्टिंक्शन आया था, तो हम लोगों ने इतना उसको अपोज नहीं किया कि तू खेल रहा है भाई, तू पढ़ाई भी कर रहा है, तो मैनेज कर रहा है।
डेली ग्राइंड करते करते मेरे स्किल्स इंप्रूव होते गए, जितने भी छोटे मोटे टूर्नामेंट थे हम सब जीतते रह गए, तो ऑलमोस्ट जितने भी बड़ी टीम्स थे उन्होंने सबने मेरे को नोटिस किया और फिर मेरे को सारी टीम के ऑफर आ गए।
तो इसको आई थिंक जैन या फेब में इसके पास अचानक से को फ़ोन आया 80,000 रुपीज़ का, तो मतलब ये 101% कोई ना कोई स्कैम ही है, और ज़रूर जिसने तुझे ये फ़ोन दिया है वो इससे डबल ट्रिपल तेरे से वसूलेगा।
तो मैंने उनको बताया कि मैंने टोटल गेमिंग स्पोर्ट्स मतलब ऑफिशियली ज्वाइन करी एज अ प्लेइंग फॉर, तो उन्होंने भेजा था मेरे को फ़ोन।
तो मतलब ये प्रोफेशनल क्या होता है? ये काम कोई करता है, इंजीनियर उसे प्रोफेशन बोलते हैं, या डॉक्टर वो पेशा होता है?
तो हम लोग टूर्नामेंट जीते जा रहे थे और मैं उनका प्लेइंग फॉर का मेंबर था। फिर अचानक से एक दिन उनका जो पहले मतलब वो चैंपियन लाइनअप जो उनका टूटा था वो वापस रियूनाइट हो गया और फिर मैं 5th हो गया था, इसलिए मैंने फिर छोड़ दिया।
एक बड़ी टीम है जो इंडिया की सबसे बड़ी, वहाँ से ये रिजाइन कर गया है और उसके लिए इन्होंने फ़ोन वापस उसका ले लिया है। मैं काम से घर आया, ये थोड़ा ग्लूमी फेस लेके बैठा था और मुझे वो बोलने लगा कि मुझे 80,000 का फ़ोन चाहिए और 1-2 दिन में ही चाहिए। तो मैं बोला 2 दिन में तुझे फ़ोन देने के लिए तूने कोई बोर्ड एग्ज़ाम टॉप किया है क्या, कोई तूने बड़ा तीर मारा है इसको मैं तुझे गिफ्ट में 80,000 का फ़ोन दे दूँ? तो मैंने उसे रिफ्यूज कर दिया।
तो मेरे पीछे लग गया, मम्मा दे ना ग, तू असं काय करते, मी तुला तुझे पैसे परत करतो। मैं इतना तक उसने बोला, फिर मैं बोली मैं कहाँ से दूँ, मी तो नहीं तुला देऊ शकत।
तो यहाँ पे हमारे पहचान के जो उनका शॉप है मोबाइल का, तो वहाँ से फ़ोन आया, आपका लड़का आया है, वो बजाज का फाइनेंस उसको मिला है, वो फ़ोन ले रहा है 70,000 रुपीज़ का। शॉप में आया तो ये वहाँ पे खड़ा था, बोला कि मुझे फ़ोन चाहिए, मैं तो फ़ोन लूँगा ही लूँगा, मैं तुझे 2 हफ्ते में तेरे पैसे लौटा दूंगा। और वो टोटली आउट ऑफ फ्रस्ट्रेशन एंड डिजेक्शन मैंने बोला कि ठीक है मैं पैसे दे देता हूँ। मैं तभी सोचा कि ये मेरे हाथ के बाहर निकल गया लड़का, पूरा ही वेस्ट हो गया है, ये मुझे नहीं लगता कुछ ये करियर करेगा या इंजीनियरिंग भी कंप्लीट करेगा कि नहीं, मुझे डाउट आ गया था उस समय। तो मैं यहाँ तक सोच रहा था कि मेरे दोस्तों से कंसल्ट करके कोई साइको एनालिस्ट या साइकेट्री थोड़ा इसको ट्रीट करूँ कि इसका थोड़ा ये ऑब्सेशन जो है ये कम हो जाए।
मुझे मन में ये था कि मैंने उसको आधा घंटा 1 घंटा जो फोन दिया, तो मेरे कारण वो इतना इन्वॉल्व हो गया गेमिंग में, वो मेरे मन में थोड़ा गिल्ट है।
जब पापा ने मेरे को मतलब नया फ़ोन दिलाया, उसके बाद मेरी और उनकी तो बहुत टाइम तक बात नहीं हुई थी और मैंने उनको थैंक यू वगैरह कुछ बोला नहीं था, बट मैं उस टाइम बोलता भी क्या, मेरे को बस मतलब प्रूव करके दिखाना था उनको। फिर उसके बाद मैंने टीम ज्वाइन करी, फिर टीम के साथ मैंने जो तेज FFMIC जो टूर्नामेंट था इंडिया का, हमने उसके लैंड फाइनल्स के लिए क्वालिफाई करा था और वो लैंड फाइनल्स अहमदाबाद में था। तो मैंने जब पापा को बताया मेरे को अहमदाबाद लैंड के लिए जाना है तो उन्होंने साफ मना कर दिया था।
मेरा तो पहला रिएक्शन ये था कि तेरे एग्जाम्स कब है, तो ये बताए ये हफ्ता भर चलेगा और वो एग्जाम के बीच में आ रहा है। मेरा तो इसके लिए पूरा रिफ्यूजल था। मेरा
और मेरे पापा का एक बहुत लॉन्ग डिस्कशन हुआ था एंड उसके बाद मतलब उस डिस्कशन का कुछ कंक्लूजन ही नहीं आ रहा था। तो मैंने बोल दिया कि अगर इस बार टॉप 3 नहीं हुआ मेरा तो मैं गेमिंग पूरा ही छोड़ दूंगा, मतलब ई स्पोर्ट्स कंप्यूटर सब छोड़ दूंगा, क्योंकि मैंने पहले भी क्रिकेट छोड़ा ही है और इस बार इजीली गिव अप नहीं करना था।
तो उस वक्त पे मेरा जो बड़ा लड़का है, मैंने उससे व्हाट्सएप कॉल पे बात की थी, जो बर्लिन में मास्टर्स कर रहा है। तू कुछ तो समझा उसे कि ये क्या पागलपन कर रहा है ये।
मैं खुद भी गेमर था और मैं स्पोर्ट्स फॉलो करता हूँ, तो जितना मुझे समझता है आई थिंक डेफिनेटली यू शुड पार्टिसिपेट एंड ये अपॉर्चुनिटी बार बार ऐसी नहीं आती है, तो उसको अगर वो जाएगा तो उसको भी थोड़ा अच्छा ही लगेगा कि मैं एटलीस्ट गया था उधर, जो भी होगा आगे देखा जाएगा।
तो मुझे प्रथमेश ने कहा देख तूने मुझे रोका था, तो अभी मानव जो स्टेज में खेल रहा है और मानव का जो गेम प्ले इट्स परफेक्ट, कि उसके जो करना है उसे वो करने दे, उसे रोक मत तू।
मैंने उसको बोला वो जो बोर्ड्स का एग्जाम रहता है डिप्लोमा का, तो वो छोड़ के तू कैसे जाएगा। तो फिर वो बोला कि नहीं, मैं एक प्रॉमिस करता हूँ कि मैं एग्जाम के लिए आ जाऊंगा अहमदाबाद से।
तो मैंने मनोमन इसको आशीर्वाद दिया था कि चलो गया बेटा तो ठीक से सक्सेसफुल होके आना चाहिए, लेकिन मैंने इससे कहा कुछ नहीं था। तो इस तरह से ये अहमदाबाद को चला गया था।
मेरा तो पहला ही लैंड इवेंट था, मैं स्टार्टिंग में थोड़ा नर्वस था। उस टाइम पे लाइक हमारी टीम तो अच्छी परफॉर्म कर रही थी, हम लोग सारे इवेंट जीत रहे थे और पूरी टीम को कॉन्फिडेंस था कि इस बार अच्छा करेंगे। तो हमने 21 अप्रैल को होटल के नोटपैड पे लिख दिया था कि विल बी द चैंपियंस ऑफ FFMIC स्प्रिंग।
25 अप्रैल वो दिन मैं तो कभी भूल नहीं सकता हूँ। मेरा यहाँ पे एक छोटा सा फार्म हाउस है जहाँ पे मैंने लगभग 70-80 पेड़ पौधे लगाए हुए, तो उसे पानी देने के लिए मुझे जाना पड़ता है। 6:30 बजे के करीब ये सौरव का फोन आना शुरू हो गया है। वो बोल रहा था कि मानव अच्छा खेल रहा है, आके देखना चाहिए तू भी। बहुत थ्रिलिंग मैच जबरदस्त चालू है। वो लोग दोपहर से चिल्ला पुकार कर रहे थे। सौरव का तो थोड़ा आवाज़ भी बंद होने आया था, तो लेकिन मैंने मेरा पूरा पानी वगैरह मारते रहा और आखिर का 10 मिनट पानी मारना बाकी था। तभी ये का फ़ोन आया सौरव का कि अरे ये लोग है ना शायद क्रैश आउट हो रहे चैंपियनशिप से। तो मतलब देख तुझे बोला था ना मैंने, कोई ये लक फैक्टर है इसमें, ऐसा होते नहीं है कि हमेशा वो जीतते जाएंगे। और फिर फ़ोन रखा और बोला कि अरे नहीं ये लोग जीत सकते, ये लोग चैंपियन रश में शामिल हो गए, फाइनल इसमें रेस में घुस गए, ये सडनली 7वें रैंक से ऊपर आ गए। तो मैंने फ़ोन रख दिया और फ़ोन रखते ही 10 मिनट में फ़ोन आ गया कि मानव जीत गया है।
Boys and girls, TEZ Free Fire Match India Cup 2026 Spring Game winner Team EZ।
तो जीत गया, अच्छी बात है। क्या हुआ है, ट्रॉफी मिली हो, लेकिन नहीं 35 लाख का प्राइस पुल था। देखिए मुझे गेम ये FFMIC ई स्पोर्ट ये कुछ समझता है, लेकिन पैसा तो समझता है मुझे, मैं बिजनेसमैन हूँ। तो मुझे टिल दैट पॉइंट I was his biggest opponent. After that 10 o'clock, I was his biggest fan.
लैन इवेंट तो ही इतना इम्पोर्टेंट मेरे लिए, बट उस लैन इवेंट के बीच में मेरा एग्जाम था और एग्जाम भी मेरे लिए इम्पोर्टेंट है क्योंकि एजुकेशन तो इम्पोर्टेंट थी और मैंने मम्मी को प्रॉमिस भी कर रखा था कि मैं एग्जाम देने आऊँगा।
साइड बाय उसने डिप्लोमा भी जो कंप्लीट किया विद 72% से भी आ गया। वो गेमिंग एंड एजुकेशन बोथ वो मैनेज कर रहा है। इंडिया का जो चैंपियन अभी बने तो वो डायरेक्टली EWC के लिए क्वालिफाई होते हैं, वो भी पेरिस में हो रहा है। तो हम लोग फिर एकदम खुशी हो गए, इतना बड़ा अपॉर्चुनिटी है, हर प्लेयर को मिलता नहीं है, लेकिन इसने करके दिखाया। तो मेरा बड़ा लड़का बोला कि नहीं, तुमको सबको आना है और हम पूरा फैमिली उसको सपोर्ट करेंगे।
पहले जो मैंने उसके ऊपर जो अन्याय किया था उसकी भरपाई करनी थी, तो बोला कि मानव को पूरा सपोर्ट करूँगा और मैं चाहता हूँ कि अभी तू इंडिया के लिए ये वहाँ पे जीते।
पेरिस में पहले तो एक तो हम लोग एकदम इतना खुश थे कि इतना बड़ी जगह हम लोग ट्रैवल करके गए और वो भी बेटे को सपोर्ट करने। जो इंटरनेशनल लॉबी में इंडियन प्लेयर फर्स्ट टाइम विदाउट एनी कोच विदाउट एनालिस्ट परफॉर्म करना, वो भी बहुत बड़ी बात है और उसने करके दिखाया। छोटो ने जबरदस्त खेला, चिल्ला चिल्ला के हमारे गले बैठ गए।
मेरे पापा तो मेरे को कभी सपोर्ट नहीं करते थे, वो पूरा अगेंस्ट में थे और अब वही मेरे मैचेस देखने आ रहे, मेरे को सपोर्ट करने आ रहे, तो मैं तो फिर खुश हो गया था। एंड फिर मेरे को वो स्टैंड से इतना चेयर कर रहे थे, मतलब अच्छा मोमेंट था मेरे लिए भी। को उस टाइम लगा कि दे वर प्राउड ऑफ।
हम लोगों को तो वहाँ पे फोन वीडियो कॉल्स कि आपका लड़का इतना अच्छा खेल रहा है। यहाँ पे घर में भी दादा दादी को फोन कि अरे आप टीवी पे दिख रहे हो, छोटो क्या बुया मार रहा है। वो हमारे लिए बहुत बड़ा ये था।
मेरे पापा तो स्पोर्ट्स फैन है, उन्हें स्ट्रैटेजी एंड एडवाइस देना तो मतलब स्टार्टिंग से ही है उनकी आदत। तो पहले मेरे को क्रिकेट की एडवाइस देते थे, फिर करियर की, उसके बाद मेरे को गेम की एडवाइस देने लग गए।
तो भाई लुइस को काफ़ी प्रेशराइज करता था कि लुइस तू जा यार स्टेज पे, इन्हें कुछ तो पुश कर, थोड़ा सा इनको फायरिंग कर। तो लुइस मुझे बोलता था अंकल इससे ज़्यादा नहीं कर सकते, इससे ज़्यादा प्रेशराइज उन्हें करेगा तो मज़ा नहीं आएगा।
साहिल को बोलते थे तू अच्छे से नीडिंग कर, केडी को बोलते थे तू सेफ रहे, फिर मेरे को बोलते थे ज़्यादा एग्रेसिव मत हो, आराम से खेल। अच्छा लग रहा था कि वो भी लॉक्ड इन हो रखे इवेंट के लिए और बड़े मज़ेदार है पापा।
हैरिस के बाद तो मेरा उल्टा उसे ये कहना था कि भाई तू अगर इतना अच्छा स्पोर्ट्समैन है तो तू अगले 5-6 साल ये स्पोर्ट को ही क्यों नहीं डिवोट करता। तू ये गेम में इतना ऊंचाई पे जाके इट बिकम्स अ बेंचमार्क। शायद मैं अपने फादर को कभी ये प्रूव नहीं कर पाता तो शायद वो भी मेरे सबसे बड़े चीयर लीडर होते। पर मेरे बेटे ने वो कर दिखाया जो मैं नहीं कर पाया। उसने मेरा सपना पूरा किया है, इसलिए मैं आज उसे बोलता हूँ फाइट फॉर व्हाट यू लव। क्योंकि कभी कभी बाप का हार जाना ही पूरे खानदान की सबसे बड़ी जीत होती है।
More or less after a week, we end up starting our week 2. We had 48 last week and right now we are at 36. However, the competition is not going to stick at the end of Sunday with only 36. It's going to slice and dice all the way to the best 18, reducing to half of what we currently have. Welcome back to TEZ FFMIC India Cup 2026 Fall. My name is Lucifer. With me on the desk is Azora to unfold this action for week 2. And what do you think? Starting off with Group A, looks to be very spicy, Azora.
Has to be very spicy. Trust me, there's going to be a lot of spice flowing all over the places, but I'm hoping that those spices are not going to reach towards the eyes of the opponents, because it's going to be super important for them to perform today, because I have a very strong feeling that there's going to be a lot of heartbreaks, and it can be for the tier 1 teams as well.
Yeah, I mean, we did see some city qualified teams being eliminated. Some teams who we thought will forge their legacy with their, what we ended up seeing with Fire Eyes. However, they got eliminated. So with our this week of action in the group stage, for sure, as you said, there could be heartbreaks. There could be fans being disappointed.
Always,
we've seen that even in the last year, 25 FFMIC, even during our fall and right now, in our spring and right now happening in fall. There's a lot to expect, and that's what we tell. Expect the unexpected. But right now, to expect what is expected is our tournament timeline, which we started with the plains. Before that, we had the in-game qualifiers, city qualifiers, all of it. Group stage is what we started with. This was last week. 4 groups played over the week. But right now, we only have 3 groups who are playing, and they are at a total consistency of 36 quantity. They'll be reduced to 18 very soon.
It's a very grueling format, and I'm just in shatters already, because week 1, yes, we did see 9 qualifying, and now it's 6 qualifying to move in towards the next following stage. And these are the groups, as you can see, A, B, and C. It's already been formed. One entire set of 12 teams have already bid us farewell. They have told their tata bye-byes, and now is the moment for the others as well to showcase how well they're prepared for the knockout stages. Else, they're going to say goodbye to even this prize pool.
Yeah, while we have another month for the tournament to end, but what are they all fighting for? As you mentioned, the prize pool, 1 crore is the lot, and we can see out of which the champions will be walking away with 35 lakhs. Now that's a big hefty suitcase. However, even at the 18th place, teams have something to walk away with. But first, they have to get to that 18th spot, Azora, meaning they have to make it to the knockout stage. And on top of it, if you think this is just the team prizes, there is also the individual prize. However, that is only going to be in the grand finals. The MVP, one individual of the winning team, will be walking away with 1,50,000 rupees for themselves, and that's going to be exciting to see who that MVP is after we've seen in spring that was Wolverine.
You know, it's a total of 36 lakh 50,000, right? That's the amount that you're going to take home. And the point system, that's going to dictate what's going to happen next. We all know each elimination gives us 1 point, but then the placement points is the place where teams need to keep their focus towards first place. Yes, you get a double digit, but from there on, you get 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Till 11th and 12th spot, you get nothing. It's only the elimination that can be your best friend. And from there on, if things are going to head all the way towards a breaker of the ties, then, well, it's the number of booyahs that you need to acquire that's going to make you stand out of the crowd. If not that, if that is as well equal, then total eliminations that you have. And if that is same, then it's a final game standing. So I believe the odds of reaching towards the end is going to be a moot point. But moving in towards a unique active skill, Lucifer, could you shed some light?
Yeah, for this, every team has to make sure that within their playing four, they cannot repeat any of the active skills. That is what this is, and this is where the entire moolah stands, where we end up seeing teams coming in with a variety in terms of their survival instincts, and how that acts upon in eliminating the opponents also comes into play. We've seen a lot of new ways to use skills, which helps teams successfully move in the direction of winning a booyah for themselves after a game. But right now, we have to make sure that they are worried that they have to be at the top 6 while we end today. We spoke about it. Today they have 6 games, and starting it off with the Group A is we end up seeing GODLIKE, Team Apex Gaming, Retired Pros, CLUTZA, PVS, ROFANI, REVENANT, NG Pros, the MVPs, LEARNFROMPAST, KINGZ and SGU Esports. And this is why I think this is the most stacked out of our week 2 in group stage.
Hey, come on. Wait for the other groups as well. You're going to see the stacks. It's going to surmount to the level where teams are going to think about how well they can evolve themselves. As I talk about evolving, there is even Team Evolution, SATUL Esports. We have even Total Gaming in the second group. Team Chaos as well. They've been performing super good, consistent as always. Black Flag Army just parading all across. And we have a very nice decorated IGL, which is X Divine and the likes of Insane Power. So a lot of firepower there as well. And Group C is going to be even more bombastic, as we can see RNX Esports, we can even see IQ OG XTSG, and the way they've been leading the charts is just supremacy all across. Assassin's Army as well, I've been super impressed by their performance. Moreover, they're not back talking anymore. They're keeping things very low key and humble, and they're just making their work on point.
Yeah, especially with half of the teams being eliminated, right? That is what is at stake while you have started and playing group stage week 2. Now let's take a look at the teams itself, the team lineup right in front of our screens, and we are going to be playing with only teams from Group A today, tomorrow Group B, and respectively Group C on Sunday. But right now, GODLIKE, Team Apex Gaming, Retired Pros, out of the lot 12, these are some big names to be looking out for, especially with GODLIKE, who have already set a benchmark in our week 1. Team Apex Gaming, hey, they went to the international stages, so there is a lot being expected from this lineup while they are now playing for fall, and Retired Pros on the other end having struggled. That has left NG Pros and moved with a new set of boys, and they are powering through to look forward to eliminations and booyahs.
Indeed, man. Week 1 was not that great for NG Pros. They had positional disadvantages every single place, and they could not make it towards the top of the list. So I'm hoping that this time around they're going to work things up for them. SGU Esports, they scarcely qualified for this entire week 2 of group stage. So I'm hoping from their end as well to showcase some really good performances. The MVPs, well, they have been performing really good. REVENANT XSPARK as well, LEARNFROMPAST. They've been learning every single day from their mistakes, and that is helping them grow, and that's just giving them a lot of room as well for improvement. KINGZ Army, well, we have seen these 4 nights just showcasing their A game, but talking about these 2 teams, which is going to be GODLIKE and PVS Gaming, well, they have a lot to dish out today. It's complete supremacy. As I can see, 0 booyahs coming in from PVS, but they have some really good eliminations in their pocket. But all of that has been outshadowed, outplayed, outperformed by the likes of GODLIKE. They have a really good streak. Day 1 was absolutely fantastic for them in group stage week 1. And from there on, the elimination factor and the total damage, the control over the entire area has been so far really good for them.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think what GODLIKE have done so far, and that is the reason we even in our socials say that they've set a benchmark in our group stage week 1. Looking forward to what they can do here in week 2. However, they did that towards the end of the group stage week 1. Now they're starting it off, and we're going to have a lot of high expectations coming in from GODLIKE. and there's not much that has changed even after Nobita moving in the other direction. Where we speak about somebody's moved in the other direction, it is going to be NG Pros losing their crown, if I would want to talk about it, because Struggle was a major role player in NG Pros to direct them towards a lot of finals. But now with Struggle not being there, NG Pros are still dabbling and figuring things out, while as retired pros seem like they are doing the heavy job. They are finding their eliminations, and Struggle has found a team which is sitting well with him. We've been seeing blood of how good he's performing. He's one of those MVP category players that we are already seeing coming in from retired pros. So there's a lot of expectations that we have as we kickstart our week 2 of the group stage with so many teams, and especially main reason I will still call it Group A is going to be the most difficult. Now it was top 9 when we did week 1, right? When you come to week 2, it is top 6. The cutoff is going to be even more heftier for you to get closer and move to the knockout stage. So you better be prepared.
You know, there's one factor that I would like to weigh in. We did see TAG having the number 1 position with 119 points in week 1 of the group stage. But here's the thing, right? The 3 big reasons why TAG just had 119 points is these: retired pros, CLUTZA Esports, and PVS Gaming. All 3 of them, they played such a major part in cutting off their rotations, cutting off their limbs one by one. Retired pros with 106 points. They are currently at the 2nd spot in the previous week factor itself. And CLUTZA Esports as well, 97 total points that they have attained, all with the lone soap of getting 60 elimination points. Now you can weigh it out. Now you can see how many eliminations they have bagged in that single game. PVS Gaming as well, 68 total eliminations with 25 position advantage points. So that's the kind of difference that they've made. And GODLIKE on the other end, they have scored the highest overall in the entire group. So it's a battle of all of these players, plus it's a battle of yet another team member that has parted ways from that team, which is Nobita. So let's see how well PVS Gaming is going to take a fight up against GODLIKE. And there are our predictions. You guys can go ahead and give your predictions too, because it's going to be super important to see who you're going to vouch for.
Yeah, as of now, we are going to be watching for GODLIKE on either end, along with NG Pros as well. But there's going to be only one name setting us apart. That's going to be PVS on the side of Zora, and I am banking on Team Apex Gaming. I have to bank on them. Hey, they clearly are going to be the favorites as we have now started our week 2 of the group stage.
Indeed, man.
While we know there is a threat of elimination, and therefore we've not yet seen upsets yet. While we talk about our game schedule, you can see Purgatory is going to be the very first game that we're going to be starting off on. And on top of it, the preferred drop spots is also going to be spawning, as we can see. And hey, Brasilia, 4 teams. Nada, not going to happen. Not going to believe that that's the case as of now, Zora.
Nah, I'm not believing that at all. Pinch of salt? No, I don't want to take a pinch of salt. I'm just going to take a heap of salt for this, because I am not going to take a word from the IGLs that they have mentioned those very spots in this map. No, absolutely not.
It already says preferred, but not likely. In quotes, hey. But that was our initial analysis of what we could expect of our week 2 here in the group stage. But with just 5 seconds on the clock left, we're going to be now gliding very soon above Purgatory to figure out where the flight path is going to start. And on top of it, is it going to be Scoot? Is it going to be troublesome at the very beginning? And it's time to start TEZ Free Fire Max India Cup 2026 Falls week 2 of the group stage now.
Oh, well, teams heading all the way. I can already see REVENANT XSPARK heading towards Lumber Mill. It's a really good spot for them to get their own loot and whatnot. Lumber Mill, one of the primary spots for Mayhem. Forge as well. CLUTZA, MVPs heading all the way towards Ski Lodge. But in the midst, they have sent Tushar just to see what's happening in the nearby parks. Campsite, it's very close by to all of these teams, and they're just planning one thing and one only, that is getting early skirmishes and getting those early points just to gain the confidence factor.
While we've been talking about all of these big names, there's one REVENANT XSPARK who have safely landed without any team at a clash. Is something that I'm expecting. There are, yes, the big dogs that we always keep talking about. They are the ones who should walk away with a lot, but I think this is Kunal's time to now prove that they are not the only ones to take away in terms of eliminations. But right as now, it's going to be White Ghost from NG Pros who finds one on ROFANI. That seems to be one of the first battles that also spawns. And on top of it, it is going to be GODLIKE also getting their eliminations. Light and Zedzor will not be able to stand tall. Instantly will get taken down. And you can see GODLIKE back to their ways in terms of finding eliminations. And this time, it's going to be KINGZ Army who take the brunt of it.
I mean, I do not understand the stratagem of this particular fight. I mean, I did see that KINGZ Army, they were pretty interested in taking a fight against GODLIKE, but instantly, the moment they just understood that our members are falling down, let's just run away. I mean, you're baiting a team just to give them more points? That just does not make any sense.
As of now, with the week 2 starting off, every team knows one thing that they have to be worried about is getting eliminated. And that is the reason their channeling of what they want to do has not yet come into play. Game number 1 takes a little bit of time for everybody to get used to the lobby. And I think that's where a little bit of a hiccup happened for some of the players. Nonetheless, it's not a team vibe. So everybody is still surviving. We will very soon see revives. But ROFANI, they also saw some losses and NG Pros are now banking. They're pushing Honey. Will be able to jump from a boulder behind a glue wall, but that's not a safe spot. Still will be able to hit with a VSS. Quick on the revive is going to be Gopu. Having the Tiva helped him out quickly. They also use the healing UAV, and then Honey gets taken down by a nice shot coming in on the quad from Gopu.
That's right, the Honey Badger could not do much there, and TRE right in front. Shots fired, the Chrono Shield did pop up, but at the last very moment. But ROFANI on the other end, they're already facing a lot of Brunt revivals coming through, and NG, they're very quick to reset themselves. 3 eliminations strong is what they are, and they have a vending machine as well, so they can bring back the fallen comrade, White Ghost. He is very much needed in this fight against ROFANI Esports. ROFANI, they're very quick on one thing, that is the retaliation point of view. And once they get the opportunity, they can easily seize it. And that's what NG Pros is worried about. So taking things very slow and being very meticulous about the situation is how NG Pros would want to pan this thing out. Vending machine right in front. And there is another battle right in front. And Revenant XSPARK, it's against CLUTZA.
We did see Kaushik getting an elimination, but it seems like it is Revenant XSPARK who have control of it. Time turner was pulled, but Bully could do nothing in that fight. Quick on the trigger, M590 doing the deed, and that's going to be another elimination in favor for Revenant XSPARK, and CLUTZA are losing players. We just saw another being eliminated. That was coming in from the Bison. And Revenant XSPARK, if they keep splurging their bullets like this, they're going to find a lot more. There are teams in close by around campsite, but for the time being, it seems like CLUTZA, they're not in the grasp or any corners of where Revenant XSPARK are, meaning they have a little bit of a breather to get their players back up, once again going in for a battle. But can we say the same thing about GODLIKE, as we just saw a scope in towards them by Team Apex Gaming?
Oh, well, Tag finally taking a battle. It's against the top contenders. Marco trying to find his polo and get at least eliminations onto this team, but I don't think so. It's going to be that easy, as Shoto, the Danav, has already reached way too close, getting at least one knock, but the back shots are coming through, and that is KINGZ Army just watching them and just waiting for the golden opportunity. And Sahil, my oh my, this dude was waiting for that one moment where the opponent is going to drop down, and he was dropping dead instantly.
That was really good tracing coming in from his end. KD got with the most, gets closer towards Yogi, and Yogi has no clue. He was trying to hit shots against the opponent, but KD God has to fend off. KINGZ Army is light. He thought he was going to be quicker and sneakier, but Team Apex Gaming, they have their reinforcements, they have their security in place. They're not going to allow you to inch eliminations like that. Take it away from them. And now KINGZ Army, they better be worried. UAV sent out, and it seems like they've decided to rather slip up from this fight, give Tag their space, and Tag, they get control of a hilly edge, but they're still playing at the edge of the zone.
That's right, it's still outside, and they would love to head right in, and that's where the car comes into the picture. There's even a launch pad, but it doesn't matter. The car gives a very nice free hand for them to move around as well. And there you go, Iko, as we can see, he is outside, and he is giving the revival to Yogi. So the entire team can band together and yet again fight against the top contenders. But this is the fight that I believe ROFANI is going to remember till the days, as TRE is tucking his tail, running away from this fight. But it's not going to be that easy, as KD God, he has provided those shots. The final blow landed, and that's another one in the list. 5 eliminations strong is what Tag is currently looking like, and they are running on top of this entire field.
Yep. Out of the 12 teams, they have the highest eliminations, yes, setting themselves apart by just one against Revenant XSPARK. NG Pros are also trying to slowly climb up. We again see Zedzor being taken down by NG Pros, a confirmation again for Gopu, meaning they get their 4th elimination. Godlike on the other end, after making a run from Team Apex Gaming, seems like their benchmark as of now in game number 1 has not yet started, and Team Apex Gaming, they will find their flow. And you can see clearly playing at the edge of the zones, that is the strategy of many of the teams rather than just jumping into the center, because they know if you jump in the center you end up being a target, and being resourceful is not going to be an option at all. You just have to keep fighting until you have enough in your artillery. And right as now, similar situation for Revenant XSPARK. After they did fend off a fight, it seems like climbing uphill is becoming more of a trekking task with them. However, with Kunal's command, they will closely and a little safely make it towards the hill's edge.
Oh, well, the height advantage is pretty good, and I really love the kind of enthusiasm Revenant XSPARK is bringing in as well. So the rotations they're calling in, alongside even watching where the opponents are. So under the tutelage of Kunal, they're doing pretty good. And well, there you go. They have the entire area, the entire mountain to their name, and they would love to be called the King of the North, but unfortunately, this is going to be contested very soon. PVS Gaming on the other end, still jumping around, trying to find yet another elimination. And there you go, Retired Pros. They're very close to this twin hill, and this fight might soon break down.
Soon might. Because PVS, they need to. They've just gotten one elimination. But when we talk about fights and breaking it, it's going to be Team Apex Gaming. Multiple directions Riptide Rhythm being used by Sahil and KD God. I think it was coming in from KD God. They both were close. Shots being taken. Gopu with a dash. Can he connect or not? Yes, he does. Take down Sahil. That's going to be a quick elimination as Gopu grabs it. KD God decides that he has to move away in the other direction, taking his vehicle. However, Shoto as well as Wolvin together, they bank around the other corner, take one player from NG Pros, meaning Gopu is now surrounded and cornered. There is no way that he can run, putting glue walls, taking the damage. Anubhav's taken down, Badal is also down, and Gopu will follow very soon. It comes down to the last person from NG Pros. It seemed like they had control of it, but it was only Gopu who found anything out of this battle, whereas Team Apex Gaming, they still come out commanding with 9 total eliminations.
Such a confident and strong front. And the tip of the spear, we have seen him, man. Shoto, so good with his dancing around the bubble shots. And the M590 always just keeps connecting on the heads of the opponent. We have seen him pull off a 1v3 as well in FFMIC. And that's the kind of confidence this lad holds. And do not take a fight willy-nilly, just like that. And NG Pros have already learned the lesson, and it's the hard way. Now resetting themselves, bringing back the fallen comrades. They want yet another player to be back, and that's going to take some time as they are no longer the coin master.
Let's be honest, right? As we are going to pass weeks over in terms of the competition is going to get tougher in general. While we saw the group stage week 1 where teams had an opportunity to make it towards the week 2, now it's gotten even more dicier, especially with half of the teams are going to lose their opportunity after today's end itself, meaning 6 teams out of this lot will be eliminated, and everybody is fighting for it, and they know the competition heat that they are feeling already in game number 1, and something that PVS also have to feel as Retired Pros have closed the distance. However, Retired Pros so far have not even a single elimination in their bank. They do have control of the hill. Nades being tossed, Nobita takes a little bit of a damage, but still it seems like PVS, they are not the ones who want to get in this battle, especially with Conchu having a really good position. But Retired Pros, they move away in that direction, therefore Conchu has no vision as of now.
Conchu with no vision. It's not going to help the entire team a lot, but Script, I hope, is prepared for this. Lovely shot being connected, but Retired Pros, they are giving a very nice answer to what is going on in this fight currently. Lovely placements coming through, and there you go, Retired Pro. They were prepared for this battle, taking down Conchu first, the support system dismantled, and later on it is going to be a third party opportunity for CLUTZA as they're very close, but the reset factor of Retired Pros is absolutely top notch. Kaushik down and out, and Bully and the others, they're still banding together to take the fight against Retired Pros, but I believe Retired Pros, this is going to be their end.
Yeah, this could be very troublesome. Struggle the last man, and by the time he could even turn around, a team or the whole player itself ended up rushing towards, and it was Shubh. Initially we saw Shubh rushing in and playing with Bully, and they were closely surrounding Somi and Salo, and I think they were the crucial players who got knocked down very early on. And by the time retired pros could maybe hold themselves afloat, CLUTZA had completely overwhelmed them. And now retired pros, they're going to be the next team to be eliminated. Unfortunate, after even having a good fight, eliminating a squad, they are now out and under. They have to wait for the next game. In the meantime, similar situation has happened to TAG.
no.
It seems like down to the last man, it is going to be the man in command, that is KD. He's moving in the wrong direction. Playing at the edge of the circle is the right intention, but moving the direction of an opponent, stealth bites will only help him until he gets to this boulder, and now it's gone. And his position is easily going to be compromised if there is any more obstacles from below who will try to charge up. And right as now, there is one that we can see, and it is going to be ROFANI Esports. But ROFANI, also one of the players, is lagging behind, and that is the reason we end up seeing that ROFANI is not intending to take a fight with KD, but very soon, as the whole lot is going to group in at the edge of the circle, KD better be prepared for this.
He is prepared. He is very well prepared. Again, he's going to be using his stealth bite and repositioning himself. But I'm hoping that he can do it a bit more quicker. And as I can see, Dorado and the team learn from past 0 elimination so far. They've been very silent. It's soon time for them to be violent as well. There is yet another team right underneath, which is NG Pros. And I could see the banners all across, all thanks to the glue wall. So how well can this fight form as the circle? It's very close and both the teams are inside. So they don't have to move an inch, but it's the others who need to contest for this very place.
Contention. Yes, NG Pros and learn from past, but as you said, there are going to be more members from other different teams who will try to charge up, because these are one of the compounds available in this open ground. Oh, Boltmaker called. I think it was a battle with ROFANI and KINGZ Army where the Boltmaker was initialized, and right now ROFANI, they want to control KINGZ Army, but KINGZ Army, they're surging in. Have a compound for the time being. Honey trying to spot out with the M590 around the edge of the glue wall. Nagi spots the players from KINGZ Army, will be able to do nothing. Django takes him down. Honey trying to answer back. Nice nade coming in from TR3. Instantly drops players from KINGZ Army one after another, and instant confirmation. ROFANI have to give credits to TR3's nade. That was an instant blast to take the whole squad out.
That's right. And that's the same number 10 as we can see on the name of TAG as well. But TAG, they don't have those members on them. So that's problematic. KD he's still surviving. Look at the survivable skills that he has currently. And he's showcasing it to perfection. The others, they're taking a fight. CLUTZA, yet again, just being so active in this lobby, trying to take fights with multiple teams. And the MVPs are under the radar. But I believe it is a shot taken from a far-off angle as REVENANT XSPARK, they're interested in this fight as well. The Arsenal is a very good spot for you to stay inside. But Tushar, he better be prepared as CLUTZA, they are swarming him around. Those shots were good. And well, the HP, it is dwindling down. What is Tushar about to do about the situation?
He has an opportunity to heal himself, but wait, did he pull out a launch pad over there? I think Tushar made a mistake, and instantly you can see CLUTZA, they've capitalized, and the MVPs are out. Unfortunate. Tried to run away, and now CLUTZA, they're going to be the ones who will be happy with it. 9 eliminations in total, and they're the ones who are using the launch pad, making a quick jump into the circle itself. But they're not going to be safe and sound. They're out in the open. This is what we were talking about, and right behind them is going to be GODLIKE, and they've already spotted this jump. Shots being taken. Kaushik is going to be the first to fall, and that is not going to be from GODLIKE. They've been spotted from Learn From Past as well. Bully goes down. REVENANT XSPARK, and now last bullet coming in from Learn From Past Warlock, and that is the end of CLUTZA.
Yeah, unfortunately, no hard comfort for them. Just a rock. Just a Dwayne Johnson that they could not work around with. But there is GODLIKE still tagging along, knowing that this is one of the primary spots for them to get more eliminations. And that's where REVENANT XSPARK, they're heading right in front of the enemy. KD stuck here by the pine tree, and he's soon going to be pummeled down as he doesn't have enough glue walls to fortify himself. There you go, leg seen Warlock. Lovely shot been taken onto the REVENANT XSPARK just to say that this is hard spoil. You have no share in this.
As of now, Learn From Past not ready to share with anybody. And it's becoming a boon in disguise for REVENANT XSPARK because they have the advantage of the height, and Learn From Past through the window, they do not have enough vision to fight with REVENANT XSPARK because they've been smart about it. GODLIKE, however, at the edge of the circle, Boltmaker doing the damage. Now KD finds one on Sohan. On the other end, White Ghost on Yogi. Seems like the snipers battle at this distance. Yogi will be brought back to life. Not much to be worried about, but KD for the mistake that he did, tried to take a shot, tag will be eliminated by Revenant XSPARK. You could see them charging right through. But on the other end, Godlike, they seem like they've answered back, gotten closer to Learn From Past, and now Learn From Past. They're in trouble. However, Revenant XSPARK, Sohan and Kunal instantly put players of Godlike down one after another, and the IGL is the only survivor. Yogi, what can he do? There's no window as an entrance. Monster trucks being called just only for cover and to see if there is a chance for survival.
Survival chance. It's not going to be that much for him. The percentage, it is dropping by the time, as we can see right in front. He did call in yet another monster truck for his betterment, but it's not going to be that easy for him to survive for a longer time. As he's taking the brunt, the Bolt Maker has been called as well. The entire team just dishing it out. Anubhav taking shots onto Vincent, and this is the kind of problem that Learn From Past has already created for this team. NG is like, you know what? We have to be the first one to take this fight, and then and only then we have the chance to head towards the circle, and that is the kind of thought process that they're running forward towards. ROFANI, they've already called this very spot home, and well, Yogi, you better be prepared as White Ghost is coming your way.
White Ghost is the one to exit first, but Badal, he gets taken down. Therefore, NG Pros, they don't have all their 4 members. And now Revenant XSPARK quickly charging away. They lose a player, and it's down to the last player from Revenant XSPARK as well, as Godlike's Yogi gets found. That is an end for it. Anubhav also has been knocked. Now White Ghost, the last survivor, trying his best along with Gopu. Shots after shots. M82B doing the job along with the AWM, and somehow White Ghost is still fighting for NG Pros along with Anubhav. Sorry, Gopu. But Dorado, he is the last one, takes a sneaky hit on TR3, putting an end to ROFANI Esports. Comes down to the last 2 teams, Learn From Past with the last member against NG Pros, who have 2.
That's right, Dorado instantly using the cell bite. It's not going to be that easy, as he has already given his location. It's the glue wall that is not going to be so beneficial for him, as Gopu with a nade. No confrontation, no shots. Absolutely nothing, just a nade to nuke out the final member of Learn From Past. And well, that's the kind of booyah that we have seen in the first game itself. What a lovely way to call it yours.
And what a team to make it theirs. NG Pros, a lot of doubts on them, especially after Struggle not being there. And look at it. Week 2, game number 1, and they're the very first team, especially in a group which is so stacked, and we are worried and we are unsure of who will walk away with Booyah, who will be the top 6, and NG Pros say we're going to be the very first one to take that Booyah, get ourselves the 12 placement points, and make sure we are at the standing stop to start the game off.
That's right, 8 eliminations, total damage of 2,808. Well, he has for sure given a lot of players the error 404 on their screen, as he was constantly shutting them down. Oscar, Joseph, Thiva, Nikita, lovely combinations, and he wanted to even support his team members. That's the reason we can see an instant revival passive skill coming in Thiva. Arvon to get information onto how many members are there in that following location, and Cord, this weapon, this LMG, the moment you duck down, you can get perfect shots onto the opponents, and if you stand and you run around, then it's just a scatter shot which will do a lot of damage on the opponent's close range.
When you talk about close range, I think NG Pros played at a distance itself, so we did not see much of Badal in action. Even Gopu with the cord that he had in hand, he was also making sure that he kept the fight at a distance. You saw White Ghost already doing the job with the M82B and the AWM. So I think this was the game between the snipers itself, and one of the reasons NG Pros, I really like what they did was making sure that they are the ones keeping at a distance. Plus, while Learn From Past were trying to knock at Revenant XSPARK or trying to make sure that Godlike fumble, advantage was taken by NG Pros. They were silent, and as soon as the distance was closed in, NG Pros, they charged in, took control as the zone was shifting, and made sure they got this boy. And that is one of the reasons you don't see much in terms of damage coming from Badal. We spoke about the distant fight coming through. White Ghost with 2,700, Anubhav with 2,100, and Gopu with the highest, as he was also the MVP with 2,800. However, Anubhav was the main man with assist 7 in his name.
Look at that. Those numbers, I do understand it doesn't tally that much as Revenant XSPARK. They've had, 16 elimination of a game, and still they don't have the placement points enough so that they can be on the top of the table. NG Pros, they rather had a very cold start and they just wanted to stay inside the compound, guess where the circle is going to end towards, and they guessed it so well. This is the NG Pros when I used to see in the command of struggle, but now that struggle is not there. This team is not at all struggling in that part. ROFANI on the other end, 11 eliminations with a total of 8 placement points. That's really good coming in from their end. And the circle analysis is going to tell us how NG Pros, they predicted the circle and they stayed away from a lot of chaos.
Yeah, I think NG Pros were very smart in terms of their movement. Initially, we already saw that Brasilia fight. They picked up, I think, with Rufani, maybe one more elimination from another team. And after that, they were playing at the edges of the circle. You can see barely taking any fights. And I think they instantly jumped towards Learn From Past. The only compound that we were talking about as the circle was shrinking. They were the ones to take it. Rufani thought that maybe they could charge in. They were fended off from that direction. Godlike thought they could maybe charge in. They tried to get closer, but Revenant XSPARK on one end, Learn From Past on the other. And when NG Pros decided to step out, nothing worked in favor for Godlike as well. Yogi was the last one. I think Revenant XSPARK is the only team I feel bad for because they were the ones who had control of everything. They were the ones dealing blows. They were the ones getting eliminations. They were ahead of the game. They had an entire field for themselves compared to 3 teams stuck inside a house. But once they decided to close the distance, maybe the mistake happened that one after another players started falling off because they have 16 eliminations, the highest in game number 1, and they still could not close on a booyah, and they were not even the last 2 teams in that final fight. And that tells us that Revenant XSPARK, in that final decision to get closer towards whoever was surviving, whichever team it was, they could not bank in the direction which will give them a booyah, and therefore game number 1, they could be okay with the result, is what I can say. But still, we spoke about this, Azora, right? We've not taken Revenant's name in our game 1 prediction. I think we'll talk about them. And so far, Kunal has made sure that we talk about Revenant XSPARK.
And you know, with the kind of question that you already had asked, I believe we've already answered the question, which is fields. They had the fields on their name. Fields will give you no hard compound. Hard compound was one thing that they were lacking again and again, regardless of how good of the rotation that they've made, regardless of how good of a game that they've brought in. Getting 16 eliminations, that's a big hauler of a game, but you need hard compounds. You need those vehicles to be your perfect cover, and that's one thing that they did not have till the very end of the game. Learn from past, they learned all the way along. They just knew that this is going to be the circle, just like NG Pros. They prioritized it first, did not take those battles outside the circle, and then later on they just took the entire fruit to their name. 9 points is what Learn From Past received, and 12 points is what NG Pros received. And that's the game, right, that they required, the confidence booster. And on the other end, Revenant XSPARK, well, they had a really good game getting those eliminations, which I would say that's a really, really good sign for them.
Yeah, as of now, I think in our game 1, as we've started off week 2, we've had teams who have had a great start, but some teams who made mistakes. Obviously, one of the names that was a big surprise is going to be PVS Gaming. And when we talk about surprises, let's also jump to our top 3 predictions. And we still keep Godlike at bay. Revenant XSPARK, you finally instantly jump into that wagon, and it has to be, man. They did it. But I bring back PVS this time from your top 3 predictions of the last one, saying, hey, that was a mistake coming in from PVS. Maybe they couldn't predict what was happening. And then along with them, I also pick up Retired Pros, because Retired Pros, out of what they were doing in Control, they all of a sudden just got pushed out of the lobby in Purgatory, and now they have to look forward to something in Bermuda.
They made a big mistake. Khonshu, yes, he had a very nice spot, prime spot for Mayhem, the sniper god. We all know the way he performs. But that one mistake of taking a fight against Retired Pros was just better at that man. And then later on, Retired Pros was engulfed by the entire team of CLUTZA. So we already know how opportunistic this entire lobby is. So if you're going to prolong the fight, the part at which you have already partaken in one single fight, then well, it's going to be a third-party syndrome coming in. But the drop spots, as we can see in the map of Bermuda, peak, well, 3 teams heading towards that very spot. Godlike, yes, I do agree that peak can be one of the spots where they can easily head towards and then take the early skirmishes, keep one of the members away from that area so they can bring in the entire team. So that can be done, but the others, they are not relying on the resume. They are keeping it very plain and simple. They would love to engage in drop clashes, but then have a backup plan just at the very beginning. And Lucifer, this is the kind of gameplay we usually see. Bermuda is super favorable for Godlike to go ahead and showcase their performance. So let's see how well they can go ahead and perform here.
Yeah, they had a boulder, a rock and a hard place that we already spoke about. Unfortunate that they could not get out of that position. Even though Yogi made hit closer towards the compound, you can still not bank on it towards a lot of eliminations. But yes, this is Godlike's play. Peak is where we kind of expect to see peak performance coming in from there. And however, I have seen and we've also been familiar with Godlike's off rotations, right, where they do not drop
Always,
to peak
man.
at the very beginning, go in the other direction, get themselves the loot, and then make it to peak, especially when other two teams are fighting. So if Godlike play that card, I think they should be having an opportunity here as we jump towards Bermuda. But I really like that we are heading towards Bermuda after Purgatory, especially for the teams who could not find their game number one. Now
man.
they will have a position where they'll be a lot more suited to understand, hey, we've had an idea of what just happened with us, whether we got eliminated early or whether we got the eliminations or points. We will now be able to stabilize ourselves, knowing Bermuda even better, knowing what teams will be able to do. Yes, the drop spots is something that you not might be familiar with. Playing with them, maybe if they were in the same group as last time, it could help you, but nonetheless the lobby is different. So a lot to be worried about, and we've been constantly talking about it, right, is the cutoff. Now when we talk or when we saw the last time the cutoff, it was for top 9. So even with your results which was closer to the 10th position, you still had an opportunity to make it into the top 9 because the cutoff was big. When you talk about the top 6, it is going to whoopingly jump up, where reaching that top 6 might get difficult. While the points were closer last time, I bank on this time being a little more difficult. And yes, heartbreak's about to happen. Game number 1 is done. We already saw some of it for one of the teams, but when we go towards game number 2, better be ready for the next one.
Exactly, man. And here's another part, right? Team Apex Gaming, they had a very good time, but at the very end, what they had was just one member left for themselves, which is KD God. And KD God has always been the nurse of the team. You agree or not, he has always been the nurse of the team. He loves to bring back the entire team, but again, not having the opportunity to do that, not having a single vending machine in that very area of fields, just could not give him that movability or the man-count advantage that he easily needed for that following fight. And on the other end, Godlike, they've been very good with their firepower. Their mid game is super good. The skirmishes that they take is so confident. And here as well, we could see them linger around till the very end when it was top 4 or top 5. But again, he needs to be more on point. Yogi, the way he has taken the command of the entire team, yes, the calls were really good, but at the end, the kind of pushes we saw eventually happened. That just made the entire team crumble down to bits. And moving forward in the map of Bermuda, this will not be accepted, because we have seen them perform very well. So let's see how well they're going to call in their shots and which corner they're going to reach in the map of Bermuda.
Bermuda, our game number 2 right now for Group A. Another opportunity to score eliminations and placement points as well. But can they do it? Learn from past, along with Team Apex Gaming, one of the first to take a drop, even ROFANI. However, it seems like Nagi is the only one, and then the squad of ROFANI drops down around Pochinok. It might be for that survival and revival game that we speak about generally, and Nagi is also close to Sahil, while Team Apex Gaming also went completely towards Sentosa. And now from there, I want to see what Team Apex Gaming play out. I think when KD God was the last man surviving, they were also not ready for it. But as we talk about peak, it is going to be Godlike who jumped there, and ROFANI along with them. We already see Nagi is in another direction. Therefore, ROFANI, if they suffer losses here, they will still have an opportunity to get their player back up. However, Nagi better be wary, because there was another player, we spoke about it, Sahil from Team Apex Gaming. He's also taken an off drop. And now Yogi spots Claws moving in the direction towards an enemy's nozzle and gets knocked instantly. Confirmation to follow as well. TR3 as well as Honey, what can they do? Electrotherapy being used by TR3, but for how long? Nancy's been spotted, but reload! Unfortunate, gets stuck now. Honey has nothing, the mini Uzi, and with him also getting taken down, this is problem. Godlike, they get an instant 3 elimination without much effort because of the mistake of what we ended up seeing from ROFANI Esports. But mistakes are also being done by NG Pros. One of the players got isolated, and KINGZ Army, this time they act quickly, swiftly upon it, get that elimination for themselves. However, same cannot be said for the MVPs. They have nobody close by. As of now, all they're doing is looting and figuring out who is close. And when we talk about somebody being close, Azora, it is SGU who are close to learn from past, and a run from Dorado is going to be ending in vain.
Yeah, a drive-by which is going to give them one elimination point. SG United in the previous one, they were absolutely radio silent, and now is the time for them to shine. As majority of the time, they have a lovely rotation being called in. Like wherever you see one member running around, you can see this team just jumping on them, jumping those guns. Let's see how well they can do it in this following game as well. Eco on the other end, lovely landing all the way towards Bhima Shakti strip just to call yet another spot theirs, because CLUTZA, they did swarm them around and GODLIKE just understood their assignment.
Godlike, can they do more? But right now, PVS are the ones who are being hurt. They are not able to do anything. Script a 1v1 with Zedzor. Zedzor was suffering a lot of eliminations last time. Every time he was revered, he was taken down. And this time, finally, after taking 2 players down, Zedzor will be shut down. Time Turner works in favor for Script, but Django was given the call. But it's going to be retired pros who are making a jump. KINGZ Army, this is the best advantage. Move away from this fight, but it seems like they're banking on it. Now Django's position will be compromised. He gets to know that players are flying by, but players are getting taken down. It's going to be Django in the mix of PVS as well as retired pros, right? As retired pros also suffer losses, Django picks up eliminations for himself. And how has this cascaded in the other direction? Retired pros again losing members one after another, and Sallu is the last one standing.
Oh my god, instantly hits the prone button. He is flat on his belly just to survive. But soon the team is going to find him. What's he going to do about that? He needs to survive. He's the lone flag bearer of the team. And retired pros, they're banking on this following member. There you go. He's on the pursuit. He's running away. He's trying to hide. And he's even trying to revive the entire team. But I believe Tushar is going to be super quick on his feet just to see where the following member is. As Revenant XSPARK, they're also capturing all the vicinities around this area. And the MVPs, they're in deep trouble. Lovely confrontation, 1v1 taken. And the members are dropping down like flies. MVPs versus Revenant XSPARK. This is the fight to be watched.
It indeed is. It started with Vincent with a shotgun M1014. And now the MVPs instantly turn around the hangar and want to take up a fight. But once again, a hit coming in. Woodpecker this time from Arsh. And the MVPs who thought they might have control of it, they're the ones who are being pushed off. Etazo trying to run away. The monster doesn't work. This time it's going to be SKS. And on the other end, Sohan spots the last player. Rupesh thought he could maybe work magic. But right now, all he can do is hope for survival. Hope that Revenant XSPARK run in the other direction. They are not going to turn a blind eye. They will charge in, take the MVPs down. And that is the very first squad to be eliminated. And Revenant XSPARK, they eye for an team and they wipe that entire squad out.
Indeed, man, the pack of wolves, they're on for hunting, and they've seen yet another bird in the sky. Sohan, he was laughing on the face of the opponent, saying that, well, that one mistake of confronting right in front of us, I believe that costed you a lot. And yes, it did. The MVPs, unfortunately, in this game, they're not going to be called that. And the hangar complete area being contested, Dinoculus utilized, and well, they have more information on how many members are at that very vicinity. Not the exact location, but knows how many members are there. That's the use of the Dinoculus being taken, and Revenant XSPARK, they're still going outside the circle, out of the way, just to get good loot.
We know that's their rotation, right? They always play edge to edge, making sure they do not be the ones who are going to be jumping in the center of the circle. However, because of which they missed the booyah in the previous game. This time, let's see what they do. But right now, it seems like Struggle is picking on a fight with NG Pros. And he did get an elimination. But even CLUTZA are doing the same. Bully up close, his teammate above the roof. And Bully is going to be confirming the elimination. 4 for CLUTZA. But they will be kind of wary that one of the eliminations was secured. I'm not too sure if it was in the same position or a different one entirely. But for the time being, CLUTZA, they'll be happy that they have control of the edge of the circle. When you talk about control, Revenant XSPARK, who are trying to play control at the edge of the zone, have now been challenged by KINGZ Army. Zedzor in trouble, Riptide Rhythm being used. He's been forced, but look at Vincent, has a brilliant position, timing it so that he can knock the player out. But right now, Kunal charging in, takes the player into a knock, and now he's looking for the second. But thankfully, teammate was there. Quick revive happens, and therefore, KINGZ Army, even this fight is not going in the direction, they're still able to hold themselves off for the time being.
Oh, that's right, Sohan. You better prepare yourselves. All right, the action right in front. Sohan, HP way too low. Zedzor, he's trying to run away for his dear life and at least take a fight against Vincent. But it's not going to be that easy as Kunal. He's just keeping tabs on the opponent on where he's rotating towards. And there you go, Arsh. Right after utilizing the binoculars, they knew how many members are there towards this very area. Hence, just rushing down the throats of the opponent, knowing how confident they are currently running in. And 7 eliminations is what they have. They are playing a masterpiece of this entire fight, and they already know how well they can capitalize onto Flash as well. Couple of members remain, and Flash wary about where the opponents are, but that trade-off, it is going to be imminent. And Revenant XSPARK, so far, they have the upper hand in this battle.
They indeed have. They only lost Sohan, and Flash was nice to play with Sniper at that distance, making sure he at least gets one elimination for all their efforts. But as we said, they were only able to hold themselves for a single elimination, whereas Revenant XSPARK, they still keep control of it. But right now, Godlike, they want to take control, but KLUTZA's claws charges in with the M79, but he doesn't find the knock. Echo has the same launcher, but it's going to be Nancy who charges to claws, and mistake being done by KLUTZA. They had no cover. Now Shuk is in trouble. Bully as well with him, and there is Echo again with his M79. The charge coming through from his end, tossing nades one after another with the launcher, and it is going to be KLUTZA in deep trouble. Thankfully, they had Kaushik who will revive, and Godlike will be the ones who will be getting the advantage as they confirm the eliminations.
That was very unfortunate for Echo. I mean, I do understand he has a grenade launcher. He can launch it on the opponents, not himself. Hence, blowing himself into smithereens. And then finally, the entire team just backing him up at the very moment. But Kaushik, what a lovely way to get away from this battle, as he was the first one to fall down. And the revival simulation just works out so better for them. Learn from past, a lovely compound on their name, and SU as well. They have already called one of the spots theirs in Clock Tower, the other slowly building up. RTP, retired pros, alongside Revenant XSPARK. Look at them. They're just taking fights left, back, and center, and then repositioning themselves to a very nice front.
Let's see what happens as of now. As you said, it could be a front as a defense, or could be the front of attack. Learn from past, they want to make sure it is defense, because last time when they tried to go in attack, they had a surprise and they were unable to hold their players up. But right now it's going to be Revenant XSPARK who take it as a advantage and charge in once again into a team. And can they be ready? Retired pros, they are not. Somi gets taken down. Blood now. Arsh is charging in. Shots after shots with the M590. Kunal gets Sallu down, and players from retired pros are just falling like fleas, one after another, and a struggle. Quickly takes the vehicle, makes a run, and retired pros seems like something just is a offset. While we were worried about NG pros, retired pros were the ones we were thinking should be comfortable. It seems like retired pros are the very uncomfortable ones who are in big trouble.
Oh, lovely reset coming in. Man, what's up with Revenant XSPARK? They woke up on the wrong side of the bed. That's one thing which is very clear. But choosing such volatile decisions and still rocking them, this has to be one of their A games that I can see. 11 eliminations strong, and I can see even teams that have the same number on them. But we haven't seen that much action coming in from their end. They're taking fights, yes, and they have taken one as well as I speak against KINGZ Army. And Django, unfortunately, he's the first one to fade away. And as long as this is happening, this is just going to give a lot of confidence to Team Tag, and they will keep flowing like the steady movement that they have.
Indeed they will, but can Sallu do the same? NG pros right now, they eye one of the players, but I think they did not spot him climbing up the hill. Therefore, retired pros, they will be okay with them as of now surviving, and will give kudos to Struggle helping out. But right now, what can PVS do? This time at least better in terms of eliminations, 5 in total. Khonshu making a run with the stealth bites right behind KINGZ Army, and Zedzor might be in trouble. Khonshu better be wary about it, and I think he and his team as a whole are wary about it. And Zedzor has no reinforcement, no backup, and therefore he'll be out in the open, glue wall destroyed, and then his elimination being confirmed. This will give a call to the players of KINGZ Army at peak, but they also know that they're not playing the right fight. They have to get inside the circle. So Light will quickly revive Django, and now on the other end, they also have to revive Zedzor. So there's a lot more, I think, patches that PVS have been happy that they have filled, whereas KINGZ Army, even after their initial fights, there's a lot more bandages that they have to put on their teammates to get them back into the game.
Well, better upgrade yourselves with the patches. That's one thing that I can say. Krish, on the other end, as I can see, just one elimination. PVS Gaming, they're not at all playing like the past team that we have seen already. Aggression was their sport. Aggression was their game, and they were pretty good at that. And now I can see TAG finally having 12 eliminations, and KD got alongside Shoto. Both of these lads have been doing the heavy lifting. The others, yes, they're providing the cover and the support. And now that they have a level 5 vest, that is just going to be the cherry on top of the cake, which will provide a lot of cover, plus the tanking, the chonk ability that they have. That's going to give them a lot of buffer in a fight. Getting the second floor directly, all thanks to the monster truck that they had. They're just going to get a really good cover. And from here on, the bird's eye view onto those teams who are there towards Clock Tower.
And right now, a bird's eye view of birds flying down across is going to be PVS Gaming that will win spots. Unfortunate that he did not spot them out in the open. Therefore, it is going to be a safe spot that PVS think they reached. But a quick knock coming in from retired pros. Conchu is down. Krish right now trying to hold it off, but Script also is getting knocked. Retired pros, they thought they will be able to hold it off, but Krish, kudos to him. The P90 will be able to bank and tank at the same time and hold PVS strong.
Oh my god, godlike, they heard all the commotion. They thought, let's just go ahead and take a third party. But unfortunately, they are stuck with yet another team that has learned from past. And well, PVS Gaming, the entire team is getting pummeled by the likes of TAG. And TAG, lovely shots on the opponent one by one. They all fade away, prone down, thinking that they can survive the wrath of this team. But no, says this one member, Shoto, just checking all the corners. And Team TAG with 15 eliminations on their name. So far, super strong.
You can see why we call Shoto as one of the best rushers. The confidence he just ran through, knowing that there were multiple teams, even a bolt maker, but he just breezes through, gets the elimination and a full wipe on PVS. And they've all backed off now. Team Apex Gaming, safe and sound. Bolt maker also now disappeared. But what do Godlike do? They were the ones who also wanted to charge, end up losing Echo in that skirmish. Now Nancy did spot, and his teammate also giving a call that further away in the open is going to be KINGZ Army. Now yes, for sure, they don't know the name, but they know there's going to be the enemy that they're able to spot. Can they take them down? We have to wait and watch. But seems like Bully in the meantime from CLUTZA gets knocked and eliminated. Not too sure what happened. Maybe something coming in from REVENANT XSPARK, because they're the ones who are close to them.
Getting the compound, TAG. Still taking a couple of pot shots just to annoy the opponents. And let them know that all of your medkits mean nothing to us, as our shots are so good. But finally, as I can see, Godlike, they're sharing this compound. Soon they would want to just open the floodgates and take the fight against Team TAG. And that's one thing that even Team TAG is prepared for, taking inhalers, energizing themselves just to take this battle. Stealth Bite being activated, and well, the information game needs to be on point. Yogi is sticking right beside this team. Sahil, he has no clue onto where the opponent is. And Yogi, he's just at the throats of the opponent. And Nancy, he's the curious one out there, taking those shots with the M590, even though the revival tactic is imminent. As Team TAG, they're still sticking together, not at all making a single mistake.
They are trying to. Godlike seems like they have another trouble that they have to be worried about. Is going to be NG Pros. And look at Nancy, the jump coming in. What a shot coming in. M590, Gopu's down. Badal will go for the revival. No work. Nancy, he gets all three in a blink, and Marco's flash freeze will put an end to NG Pros. What a hit coming in from Godlike. 13 in total eliminations, but now they have another thing that they have to be worried about. Is going to be learned from past in front of them, or I would say just above them. Godlike, even though it's the last member, it's down to the last three, they're still holding it off. When we talk about the last member, it's going to be Shubh from CLUTZA.
Oh no!
And eventually he will be wiped. Arsh with the M590, and REVENANT XSPARK, they also have 14 eliminations in their name. But Team Apex Gaming, they are taking hits coming in. That was a nade from SGU Esports. However, revive's done and they should be ready. But KD got in Shoto, they get taken down. Vulvin and Sahil, can they do and hold? No! Sahil is the last one standing. The nade parade coming in on both the ends. Learn from past, they suffer a full-on wipe. However, Sahil somehow holding himself. But REVENANT XSPARK and Godlike, they're the ones who look most likeable for this booyah.
Oh my goodness. My prediction is going to be 100% right. As REVENANT XSPARK, they have the man-count advantage. They have taken down TAG as well. Godlike, the next following team to follow through, as 18 eliminations is what REVENANT XSPARK is holding on their name. And they take that booyah as well. from the beginning till the end. Just dominating performance showcased by this team, and they've so far stood away from the crowd. What a performance coming in, Kunal. My oh my, take a bow at this team as they were so consistent since the start. 19 eliminations and total of 12 placement points. And well, I'm just going to give a pat on the back. All three names right on target.
You need to. Ozora, great stuff in the predictions, and even greater stuff being done by Kunal. Missing by almost an inch in the previous game, not getting a booyah, had the highest in terms of elimination. This time ups the game even better, gets a total of 19 elimination and then bags the booyah. Brilliant game coming in from Revenant XSPARK, and this time especially having the compounds, knowing the position. Look at Ursh charging in. This is what we love to see coming in from the rushers, and the confidence that Ursh has in his gameplay just put an end to everybody else. They could do nothing against him. Team Apex Gaming, while they had the better of it in terms of elimination before Revenant XSPARK, but the circle didn't favor them, and Revenant XSPARK playing the game ahead of it in terms of keeping control of the circle, making sure the gap is going to be in their favor and not anybody else. And Godlike, their fight was really good against NG Pros, but they had no way of climbing back up, and that is where Godlike had an issue. And Revenant XSPARK took all these unfavorable conditions and turned it as an advantage to themselves, and the MVP is going to be Ursh with 7 eliminations, 2,406 damage, and we already spoke about his dash and the Valiant dash coming in clutch every time he wanted to go and knock his opponents out.
You know, whenever the entire Wolves is in a pack, you just cannot keep the Wolves outside the door, man. They're gonna come pounding. They're not gonna spare you at all. And Ursh, well, he has not at all spared a single human being who was there inside the lobby. The others, Sohan, Kunal, Vincent, all of them following together, getting those eliminations. Since the beginning of the game, they were very aggressive, but at the very end, they just kept themselves very cool, calm, collected, and got those eliminations. Post that, man count advantage always hails victorious against those lads who think that they can be super aggressive in the lobby.
Very aggressive were Revenant XSPARK, and they thought about only themselves, and that is the reason we see numbers like this, especially on Vincent. Look at that damage as a sniper, 4,310 from his end. He might have only 3 eliminations, but 7 knockdowns. Even greater stuff being done by Sohan. He has 2,900 damage, but has 10 assists. Therefore, this team was indeed a pack to be worried about. They had written eliminations across every opponent's forehead, and that's what they were inching closer towards. And 19 eliminations plus 12 gets them a big whooping 31 total points. However, Team Apex Gaming not far behind, just missing by 3 points. They have 20 eliminations. Up it just by 1 additional eliminations is what they say, and they have a total of 28 points. Brilliant stuff, and even Godlike right behind, and you can see how top heavy especially this game was, with Godlike also at 25 total points.
You know, there's one thing that's going to be a huge problem for the others who are there from the rank 7 to 12. The MVPs, well, this has not been a consistent performance for them. ROFANI as well. Retired Pros, previous game was good. This game, not so much. NG Pros as well. This is going to sting them, and I'm hoping that they start being consistent from this third game itself, because the problem is going to be that you have to be towards the top 6, and towards reaching that, you need to have the buffer points as well. Else there's going to be such tough competition when it comes to the final 2 maps that you're going to forget about qualifying yourselves. We're talking about the circle analysis, how teams have been heading all the way from the western side towards the middle, and knowing the circle is going to head towards Clock Tower. That's a beautiful prediction from coming in from all of these lads. Plus, look at that. Circle 3, the way it has been, Revenant XSPARK and Godlike, both of them, they were super isolated, super silent about it, and learn from past, regardless of how well they were fortifying themselves towards the very end. Their start was not that great.
Yeah, unfortunate when you talk about starts, learn from past, they always are in that direction where they don't seem like they have the better of it. They get picked as individuals. However, their survival game is on point, Ozora, so far, and that is the reason they're in the top 6. The difference might just be 2 points, but in both the games, they've been consistent in surviving till the top 14s. That tells us that learn from past, at least in the placement game, they are playing their cards right. However, they better up their elimination. Same goes for CLUTZA. CLUTZA have good eliminations, but the placement looking a tad bit but hopefully they pick up. But ROFANI, just game number 1 was good, but after that they've been just getting picked off every time. Same can be said for KINGZ Army, but they've picked up pace. However, the biggest pace that was picked up from the dead last was from PVS Gaming, scoring those 12 points, adding on to the previous one single point they had. They've jumped to the 9th spot. However, competition might be closer now at game 2. Teams better understand this is where, if they want to get to the top 6, they make it happen at game 3, because that's the halfway mark, and there you'll have a better idea of who is chasing the ranks as quickly and as swiftly as possible to run away in the top 6 race to make it to the knockout stage.
Indeed, man, and that's one of the problems that majority of the teams are facing right about now. So might as well just wake up. This is a very nice wake-up call. Hit that snooze button soon, because problem will strike at their door very soon. Like you rightly mentioned, this is already going to be the halfway mark, the 3rd game. Very important for those teams who want to stay towards the top 6, and the ones who want to bring in a very nice comeback. Well, this is your opportunity. This is your time. Nextera is one of those maps where you can get good amount of eliminations right at the word go itself, but converting and getting the booyah will be problematic. That's the reason. Just get those eliminations and call it a day for yourselves. But if you can keep yourselves intact till the very end, have all the 4 members survive and get the booyah alongside good amount of eliminations where most of the teams are struggling towards, well, this is going to be your game then.
Yeah, hands down and on point. That is right. You have to balance both eliminations and placement points. You could already see, right? In the 5th and the 6th spot, one team has eliminations which look good, and on the other end, a team which looks good in placement points. But if you're able to balance both, you will have a better opportunity to make it in the top 6. And I think that should be your best opportunity and play of survival here in your group stage week 2, because that will be the only thing that will get you towards the knockout stage. However, if you're going to be making sure that you up your game, this is your best opportunity to take that fight right across the opponent's face. Go for a fight. Take this advantage, make it to the top 4 itself instead of just banking on the top 6. When we talk about our top 4, let's also talk about the top 3. Going into our game number 3, it's going to be PVS on your end. I think it's going to be a good name. Consistently and slowly they're picking up their pace. NG Pros, a little up and down happened in the previous game, and then coming in is going to be Retired Pros. But this time I've taken Retired Pros to be one of the top teams along with NG Pros, same names. But then it is going to be Team Apex Gaming. I decided, hey, let's bring them back. I did have them in game number 1, missed them in game number 2, but Team Apex Gaming should be in the mix of the top 3 always. And as we are heading to game 3, especially next era, which REVENANT XSPARK and Team Apex Gaming will love, because they will look forward to more amount of eliminations. I did not have REVENANT XSPARK, but I still bank on them, and I will keep talking about them irrespective of the prediction.
You know, Lucifer, there's one observation that I've already seen. Team DAG, doesn't matter whether they get the booyah or not in the group stages, they will always be at the tippy top without any booyah. But then later on, when it actually comes for their time to get the booyah, for example, the finals, wink, that's where they bag it, and that's how they win it.
That's KD God for you.
Exactly, man. And he loves to be the coin master. He loves to be that. He loves to nurse the entire team. And I believe that's one of the tasks given to each and every sniper out there. And if you're not doing that task, then what are you doing? Because a stealth bite always gives you the opportunity to reposition right underneath the nose of the opponent, and then just reach towards the nearest vending machine, pop back those players, and then get back your fight to survival and winning the game. And next era, it is going to be brutal, Lucifer. Not gonna lie about that. And I'm just super excited to go ahead and see this map before these two folks, which is going to be Arta and Husky.
Let's see what unfolds as we are going to be jumping very soon to next era. 20 seconds on the clock. You saw the preferred drop spots. The western end of next era kind of seemed empty around Museum, Farmtopia, maybe a little even at Plazaria, but we are for sure going to see a lot more action. Intellect Center had only one team, and if I was not wrong, it was LEARNFROMPAST that we ended up seeing. So a little bit of a dicey, only one team at Intellect Center, such a big space, but I'm pretty sure we are going to see a lot more teams taking the fight as we take the flight towards next era in our game number 3, which is going to be our halfway mark for teams to decide, do they have a chance or not? And if they don't, they better stage their comeback now to make that chance happen.
Oh, well. I just love the flight path. Grav Labs all the way towards Mortar Ruins alongside Twin Bridge. It's going to give a lot of room and opportunity for the teams to head for their following drop locations. And I can see KINGZ Army heading towards Deca Square. Unfortunately, I can't see IQ, OG, XTSGL's Deca Square would have been heavily contested by them. But on the other end, there is Plazaria where Godlike is calling it their home. Very close to PVS. And PVS, well, it's going to be a drop clash against ROFANI. So that's going to be even more Tufani.
The Southern Showdown, PVS versus Godlike, but PVS, before they have to be worried about Godlike, they have to fend off ROFANI. ROFANI have not been having the best time. We saw them there in the bottom half. PVS, they are also in the bottom half, but they got their game number 2 better. So their game number 3 has to be even more better and even more, I would say, clinical. If they're able to pick up in terms of eliminations, they should be able to make it to the top 6 at the end of the game if they're able to also get to the top 4. However, ROFANI understanding this could be a mistake at Grav Labs. Khonshu, who's driving away in the other direction. It seems like ROFANI are thinking there might be a trap here, and ROFANI are not staging a fight very quickly or hastily.
Absolutely, man. They wanted to pincer the opponents, but unfortunately, they are getting pincered. Script going off a script, and that's the mistake that he has already created. ROFANI, so far, they have 2 eliminations. Where's the second? Oh, wait, did he just get revived? No, absolutely not. He was knocked on the ground. Oh, the confirmation. Well, it's only on to 1, and the other one is already revived from a far-off angle. So that's really good. Not at all losing the man count, but Godlike, they've heard all the commotion. They're very close to taking this fight. And Nancy, the first one onto whom Claus had his eye on. But unfortunately, it has to be Marco, who could not find a single elimination.
You could see Honey how badly he wanted that elimination. Quickly uses time turner and then again moving towards another hit. And Nancy in deep trouble. This time P90 not doing the deed. And Echo will also get taken down, and ROFANI Esports TR3 will be able to do the deed, get the eliminations, and the UMP being better as a submachine gun there in the fight. And Godlike, what they thought they have in control, they were the ones to be worried about. Did not get any eliminations with the direct approach. It was the only one that Yogi stole away, and ROFANI keep control of Grav Labs.
You shouldn't be the fodder, right? You shouldn't be giving the team the confidence that they need right now. And ROFANI, they have it. Having 4 eliminations and taking a fight against the top contenders in one of the groups, which is Godlike. And this is the kind of statement that they're already proving in this following map, getting most amount of eliminations on their name. Good start for them, a solid start. And CLUTZA on the other end, they're taking fight against SGU. But wait a second, ROFANI, they're not at all calling it a truce. They want more eliminations. They want more blood. And that's what they're shedding. Not of theirs, but their opponents.
They're smart. From Grav Labs, they understood that after so much commotion, there'll be more teams moving in. They moved out and got more. However, NG Pros, they also decided to do the same thing, and it is PVS this time. PVS ran away from one fight, get met with another, but it's going to be a 3-way standoff, and NG Pros are having the better of it. Rupesh trying to hold off, but he is cornered, will be picked off by Badal. And the MVPs, all of a sudden, by almost controlling that fight, will be forced off in the other direction. But SGU, seeing this commotion at Deca Square, they think that they have an opportunity here. Make a jump. The call is being given by White Ghost that there are players who have made a ramp up here. Oh, what a shot on that AC-80. White Ghost turns around and instantly puts the player down.
Yeah. SGU, they're going to regret this decision. All 3 members on top. Well, who's even holding the ground support? That is one of the questions that needs to be answered. As SGU, I don't think so they have any plan to take this fight, but willy-nilly, they just wanted to see what's happening here. And Russia, the sniper, has been taken down. Same thing goes for Champ as well. Gahib and Hafiz, both of the players just banding together, and one heading towards a vending machine. Did he plunge in one of the members? Absolutely not. That's a mistake, and the member is very close. What can happen next? I believe it is going to be problems paradise for this team. But finally, they have plugged in those fallen comrades, and they're taking a fight up against Gopu as well. One of the most iconic rushers. And this fight, I believe, is going to go south real soon.
It seems like it is. NG Pros, they keep control of it and then put down Gahib. He did manage to revive, therefore SGU Esports will have another opportunity. But when you talk about Godlike having another opportunity, they have to fight with Team Apex Gaming. Godlike at the reverse edge. Wolverine gets charged. That's coming in from Nancy, and Nancy has been better of it. Shota also gets taken down on that 1v1 skirmish with Nancy, and Nancy doubles down a 1v2 now. Marco trying to hold off, but KD got quick on his trigger with the VSK, puts Marco down, and this could be an opportunity, an opening. However, even Team Apex Gaming have gone in for the revive, but Nancy is still charging in. That's his third elimination. That M1014 doing the deed now, chasing Sahil. He hears where the vehicle sound is, but can he direct his? Can he make sure he puts the player down? Pulls out his own sniper, but Sahil is too far away in terms of scoping and getting vision, and Godlike will get 3 eliminations, and all kudos to Nancy for getting those 3.
It's one of those situations where the pilot is saying evacuate, 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 and that's how the player meant for team tag had to run away from this fight. Godlike, they're in a lot of confidence state, and they're just constantly rolling the dice, and they're constantly getting those 6s on their name. And as long as this is happening, it is just going to make them the mammoths of this map. The rotation is clean, the precision play is out there, and very surgical fights is what we can see. And finally, as I've already turned my eyes towards Anubhav, he's the last man standing, and KINGZ Army, they're chasing him to the end of the earth, and there you go. Light just puts him to rest. There goes the entire team of NG Pros at the 12th spot, which means they don't have any position advantage. None given to them.
So far in all the games that we've been casting, Ozora, it's been very difficult. We blink and the team is almost down to their last player surviving, and that's what happened to NG Pros. They had full control of Deca Square, and all of a sudden it came down to one player standing, and he's also gone. A lot has happened to multiple teams like that, but these are the teams who are at the top. For them to be going down like this means teams at the bottom have an opportunity to stage a comeback, but they are not reading right through it. And now you can see CLUTZA, one of the player gets picked off. That's going to be Kaushik. He was looking forward to being the one who initiates this fight, but Revenant XSPARK, we've been seeing them playing outside the zone, has been their ground to do the damage, not the other way around. Every team who's challenged them outside the play zone has always suffered, and now Revenant XSPARK are looking forward to challenging and going right to where CLUTZA moved, towards a safer spot, and Revenant XSPARK are charging towards that direction.
Oh, that was very close, but Kunal, he has been caught off guard. Oh boy, CLUTZA, they were prepared for this. They already saw a couple of players just launching themselves and reaching close. But unfortunately, a rainbow of 4 colors did not bless the opponent team. It was just their demise. Revenant XSPARK, they're still stuck in mud site. They want to take this fight and even call one of their fallen comrades, but it's not going to be that easy, as CLUTZA, they've already taken control of majority of the space alongside the vending machine as well, which is problematic.
We spoke about it, CLUTZA. Not eliminations only, they need placement points. That's what they were suffering in the first 3 games that they played. Not too much, but eventually could be trouble. Nice nade being tossed by Shub, trying to push off Revenant XSPARK, but it's not going to be that easy. Revenant XSPARK, they've got their player up, so they don't have much to be worried about, and especially they have the vending machine in control. Can it be the same thing that we can say for ROFANI? No, Klaus understands that it could be a problem, and that is the reason instant send to the launch pad in the direction of the vending machine will go and get Honey back and get back into play.
Oh my god, at the cost of his own life? This seems to a bit more be like a daredevil of a situation, and Klaus, he's still alive. Oh, but TRE, I believe he has already been taken out. Not a good sight for them. Nagi still running around. They are still outside the circle. What is going on? They want to call in a late rotation, but in the midst of just being caught off guard, that shouldn't be the case at all.
Right now, a lot for multiple teams being costed just because they're playing outside, and once more Kunal suffers. He was picked off by KINGZ Army. That is Django. And Kunal, this has been twice so far. Once coming in from CLUTZA's bully, and this time it is going to be another team from KINGZ Army. If this continues, it could kind of, I would say, cause a kerfuffle between Revenant XSPARK, that they've been just on the revival game, because this is one of those games where we've been seeing Revenant XSPARK being forced to revive their teammates. KINGZ Army, who are behind Revenant XSPARK, now take a jump, try to get ahead of it, but Retired Pros in a position for themselves around Zipway, having control of the tracks, and this could help them out. But for the time being, they have no vision of any teams close by, therefore they would have to bide their time. Seems like Godlike have gotten closer, but for that, Retired Pros have to take a dip in either of the direction of the tracks and then get to know that, oh, there's a team close by.
You know, this is where the problem arises, Tag. They've been constantly pummeled down into bits and pieces. One member here, one member there. That's the reason they have to again get those weapons back into the picture as they require the best ones out there. And that is just being a huge problem for them. Just one elimination is what they have. And currently just controlling the entire area. Shoto, wait, what? Are they indulging themselves in a 1v3 situation? Shoto alongside Volvin. All right, at least he has a cover. He has a backup. And both of these rushers just rushing down the throat of PVS. PVS, you better be prepared for this, as both the players, they are just constantly giving a lot of toes, a lot of information on where they are, dropping the clanker and the shot of Shoto onto the skull of Krish, takes out one member, takes out the second as well. Shoto for 1v3! Oh my god! Team Tag, banking on top of the confidence of this rusher, has bagged in 3 eliminations. That's a jam-packed performance.
Indeed he is. This is why he always delivers. This is why we have stories behind him. This is the caliber who has changed the face of Indian esports. And they are still surging forward with performance as such. Team Apex Gaming, 4 eliminations in total. As you mentioned, Shoto having the 3 of it. But it seems like a lot over the weeks have slowly cascaded towards Rusher doing the deed. We were seeing the MVPs going towards the snipers, but Rushers are back in play. They are picking up eliminations. They are the ones who are bringing the team back to life. And what Revenant XSPARK were doing, similar approach right now from Team Apex Gaming. Revenant XSPARK, in the meantime, they're being cornered. ROFANI want to get closer, but Revenant XSPARK trying to hold off. Riptide Rhythm breaks the defenses. Urge trying his best with the Max 7, and so on with the M590. Helps, and Claws and Honey were in trouble, but Honey saves the day. Close range, Max 7 does the job. Only a knock, but Sohan, can he turn it around? Yes, he doubles down with the M590, and ROFANI Esports, they blink and they're eliminated. They try their best, but nothing works.
They ate more than they can chew. Revenant XSPARK just engulfing the entire team. That was spot on, spectacular, surgical, as we all can say. And well, Revenant XSPARK, they had a very tough start. They were getting decimated from one fight to another. One of the members always taken out of the count. And finally, they are banding together, just like the fate that Tag is holding right now. Oh, KD got alongside Shoto. All right, the revival has come through, and same thing goes for Shoto as well. So all 4 members band together to take a fight against PVS. And this is the redemption for PVS.
Points. They need it. They got it in game number 2, but what can they do better here? They did deal a knock, but it's not going to be the best one, because now they have enticed with a red cloth the bulls of the Indian circuit. That's going to be Team Apex Gaming. However, retired pros are also troubling them, and therefore Team Apex Gaming might be kind of in a mix of who to fight with. However, a nade being tossed towards PVS misses the mark. Conchu in trouble. Shoto spotted him. Conchu cannot run away from a trigger like that, and Wolvin puts him down. Confirmation as PVS loses a member. More trouble to follow. Skip trying his best, puts Sahil down, but now follow coming in from Wolvin. Tries to do the deed, and Wolvin puts Krish down, and now finally the last member falls, and that is an end for PVS Gaming. Trying to charge in towards Team Apex Gaming was not the right call.
You mess with the bull, you get the horns. And this is another fight that we can see. SGU, they have been so silent. I do not know what happened to them. Even in the previous group stage, they somehow survived. They somehow reached towards the top 9. And this time, if you somehow want to reach, you better perform. As KINGZ, they have 10 eliminations. They have a lot of confidence under their belt, and they would love to go ahead and get more. And those are just 3 points that I can say. SGU surging in, thinking that they can at least not do. They are so far proving themselves right. And they're going to take the entire team. I believe HP Solo sets off the last member standing, and the entire team has been wiped clean. Way to shut the mouth of all the haters of SGU. What?
Yeah. SGU Esports, they get eliminated. It all comes down to Zedzor. We were seeing him to be the very first to be eliminated, but SGU were so heated up that they were just finding knocks and did not confirm any elimination. And because of that, in such a small compound with the zone pushing, it became a trouble. But right now, even for KINGZ Army, same trouble is following. As Revenant XSPARK spotted them trying to climb down the hill, will put an end to their run. Team Apex Gaming were also in the mix of it with Learn From Past. So a little bit of elimination spread around, but retired pros, they also suffer. We were talking about it. They were above the tracks, but they never could land a blow and will eventually fall down to the last 4 teams. Learn From Past, GODLIKE, Revenant XSPARK, and Team Apex Gaming. And it seems like Revenant XSPARK are the ones to start, as Warlock is the one to fall from Learn From Past.
It's a very good spot though. the gas station so that they can keep gassing other fights and then later on head towards the enemy's throats and take them down. But Dorado, what a good start for him. That's a very nice downpour coming in. And Revenant XSPARK, so far, they're paying for their sins. Sohan knocked on the feet and he's just calling in for a lot of help. But I don't think so. The help is required as Vincent, he is sending himself in to just give the revival and tag. They've heard all the commotion. KD God trying to reposition himself just to see how many members are knocked down. But unfortunately, it's not going to be that easy as Vincent gives the revival for both the players. And now they're back to a 3-man squad. On top of that, they're on top of this very highway as well.
That was a savior's performance coming in from Vincent. If not for him, I think the whole team would have been out for Vincent on a 1v1 M82B. But right now, Revenant XSPARK with a member down there to be worried about it. But Woodpecker coming in from Arsh finds the opening. Yogi is down, and Godlike, who are already a man down, they make sure that they're even in a worse position. So this was about to be a 3v3v4, but it's turned to be a 2v3v4 with Team Apex Gaming having the advantage, a whole compound for themselves, whereas Godlike, they just have a gas station. Marco using the dash, making it across and making sure under the bridge is where he is, and Echo has to follow that urge. Look at him. He has a nade. He was about to toss it, but he was not sure in which direction. And I'm pretty sure he wants to toss it to Echo. But multiple nades, not just him. 2 more from Vincent and Sohan together. And Echo will be forced to play at the edge of the zone. He cannot get closer. Now tries to make a run, but for how long will he be able to do? Wow. They are trying to use melters to try and break his bone. But you can see healing gun being used by Marco to come in clutch and help somehow Echo to reach the pillar under the bridge.
Oh, well, he has safely reached there though. But what's going to happen next is tag. They already have man-count advantage where Sohan, he's making sure that the advantage turns into a disadvantageous situation. But that's not going to happen as the revival just kicks right in. And the second knock. What is going on? The entire team, they have the bird's eye view. Revenant XSPARK, they're constantly taking those shots. And one by one, the members are fading away. HP low, and I believe the same fate is going to be onto Team Tag as well, as the HP is dwindling down of KD God. Finally, he has been picked up. And 4 members strong is this team. Right underneath Godlike. All of them just banding together. And those shots, even though they're looking really good, but the Bolt Maker is taking a lot of HP off these players. One by one, they are fading away. Eco, finally the redemption of the member falling down. And he just falls down like a fly.
Nothing much they could do over there. Now Ursh trying to charge and wait. What? He is running right towards Team Apex Gaming. Everybody got to know that the bridge is not the position to play. The tracks are not going to help them out. And now charging in, Godlike as well. Echo and Marco somehow made it across. Marco helps him out by destroying the glue wall, but the enemy is right in front. It's not just one, but it's the whole lot of Team Apex Gaming. They're charging. Echo will not be able to hold. Marco gets taken down. Now it's up to Marco as Shoto surges it, gets Echo. Now Marco trying to hold off. Puts one player down. Sahil was wondering where the player just disappeared, and Marco was quick to grab that elimination for Godlike.
That's right, the opportunity squandered! And Shoto! That was a lovely pump coming in from Marco, finding his polo, but the revival, regardless of it, Shoto yet again back on his feet. It's a 2v2, but Wolvin, he needs to instantly heal his teammate as well and indulge in the fight, healing right now, taking the 100% medkit, and the others, they're slowly reaching close. Shoto yet again with a low HP, and they cannot survive the wrath of Revenant XSPARK as they back it once more. This is a lovely game, lovely representation of how well you can keep yourselves in a very nice state of cool, calm collectiveness, and from there on, get the booyah as well.
What a game coming in, a back-to-back from these Wolves. They pack a punch in every game. How close it got. You can see Vincent is yo guys, you made it way too close. That should have been an easier one. Even in that 3v2 or a 3v4 situation, we should have had the upper hand. First Sohan decided to drop, and then Sohan went out. It was down to Vincent and Arsh, and I think they banked together really well. I was also worried of how they will be able to pull it off, because Arsh decided to just run in towards where Team Apex Gaming were, but somehow, just like Harry Potter, around the stairs was hiding. They never got to know and worry about Ursh, and they were charging in and taking a fight with somebody else, and eventually Ursh, as a wizard, just popped out, and both Godlike as well as Team Apex Gaming had nothing that they could do better of it. And Wolvin tried his best, but they were moving outside the edge of the zone, which was already doing the damage, and then Vincent also helping out. Together they bag another booyah.
That's what happens when you let one team get the confidence factor in, which is godlike. And I believe Marco was busy sending both the players back to Hogwarts. And that's what happened majority of the time. And Vincent from afar, he was just keeping tabs on how well this fight is going to shape up to be inside the circle, not take the circle damage at all, because the final circle damage is massive. We could see it on the faces of both the members, Wolvin alongside Shoto, both of them losing their HP just like that. And well, the MVP has to be Vincent. Morse, Boko, Maro, Suzy just going ahead and being the coin master right there, getting those tokens, getting the revival factor in and bringing the entire team as of a whole just to take those fights. And even though they had a man count disadvantage, a couple of their players were not there in the following fight towards the very end, it still did not matter as they had the position advantage.
But I'm happy that with Vincent getting back to the MVP, which tells me that it is not just the rushers. The MVP tells you that this player was very crucial and Vincent played his part. Sohan was there with the chrono and you could have to and make sure that you say his name. That's going to be Ursh with a valiant dash. If it was not for him, I think there could have been a lot more trouble for Vincent. So at least making sure that players who are trying to close the distance are kept at bay was because of Ursh. He was going up close and personal right to their faces and charging them, whether with a valiant dash or with a Max 7, whichever weapon at hand to take them down. And you can see his damage is also at par with Vincent. 3017 on the other end, 2939. Brilliant job over there. Almost a duo stuff is what we ended up seeing from those two lads at the end in the fight. Absolutely. And them grabbing a second booyah. This time not a big whopping 30, however still close to it. At a total of 28 points is what they see. Godlike as well, they're getting better, but no booyahs yet that we have seen. 24 points in total. Team Apex Gaming 3 eliminations apart from Godlike and Revenant XSPARK, sitting at a total of 22 points, which is 2 as well as 6 points away from the team at the top in game standings of Nextera.
KINGZ Army, they're surprisingly doing good. Learn from past as well. First game was good. Second game was not that good. Third game, finally, they have woken themselves up. CLUTZA Esports as well. 10 total points on their name. Retired pros, well, I do not know what happened to their aggression, but sure, it is fading away. And I'm hoping that fire ignites itself again, else it's going to be a sad side for them. And talking about the way the teams have been rotating in the map of Nextera, let's just head directly into the circle analysis and see how well they prepped themselves since the beginning. Revenant XSPARK, they took a huge detour heading all the way towards the eastern side of the map, and then from there on, from the southern part of this very spot of Nextera, taking those detours has helped them a lot to understand the fights towards mud site, get capitalization towards that, and then later on sending themselves with a launch pad towards boxing gym. And from there on, they were just punching their way through, knocking the teeth out, and then just letting the opponents throw in the vital.
I think there's just two teams right now, if you want to talk about rotations of how smartly they've been doing. One, yes, for sure, has to be Team Apex Gaming. Along with them is going to be Revenant XSPARK. Both of them have been playing an edge-to-edge circle. That too in the play zone, not the main circle itself. That tells you that these guys are looking forward to a position where they have information of the opponents and they have a keen eye on where their prospective eliminations are going to be, and they're picking up in that as an advantage. However, one more thing that I kind of saw is in the first two games and now corresponding it to what we ended up seeing in game number 3 Azora is from the drop spot, right, where they jump, they take a course in almost a complete different direction. Like if they're jumping north, they're going to make a jump towards the south after getting their loot, and from there they play at the edges of the zone. Similar is what we see from Team Apex Gaming. But with that, let's take a look at today's standings. 82 sitting at the very TPT top is going to be Revenant XSPARK. 65 then is Apex Gaming, then Godlike at 60, NG Pros at 40, Learn From Past at 37, and KINGZ Army at 34. But CLUTZA, they get pushed out, and this is the reason I was talking about it, is if you don't balance both eliminations as well as your placement points, you might get pushed off. However, KINGZ Army, they get better on eliminations this time, even better than CLUTZA themselves. And now KINGZ Army, they're going to be in the top 6 compared to CLUTZA and ROFANI, even retired pros. And very soon, if this follows, right, I'm worried for NG pros as well. Their points are not picking up. They got eliminations only and nothing in this previous game. 0 placement points.
See, I have a different take altogether about Revenant XSPARK, Lucifer. Revenant XSPARK, they have been very keen on understanding what's happening in the initial part of the circle, and then later on they bounce right off. They see where the circle is going to approximately head towards, and then from there on, they just stay there till the very end because they have a very nice guess to how the circle is going to function in the map of Nextera. Not only Nextera, they have done this in literally every map. But we have a question waiting for us, and I would love to see what that is. How many tier 1 teams will not qualify for the next stage? 1.007. Oh, he's an Agent 47. He's asking what's going to happen next. How many tier 1 teams are going to qualify, or they're going to be parting ways? Any guesses, Lucifer?
With this question, it tells me the audience is prepared.
They are prepared, yeah.
We were worried, right? Oh no, there's going to be favorite teams getting knocked. But I think there could be 1 or 2 teams out there, to be honest, because half of the lot of 36 is going to be eliminated.
Can you name them?
Group stage week 2. Tough right now. I do not have names because so far everybody's doing their deed.
Indeed. So, okay, fine. I'm going to swallow the pill and give a couple of names.
Go for
I
it.
believe, alright, even I don't have any names. I'm going to stay towards a safer side,
It's
just
very
like
tough,
Lucifer.
Aurora, very tough to be honest, right? Like
It is,
you
man.
can't go for a pick. Who will you?
Yeah.
Like, yes, honestly, Ico OG TSG, they got eliminated when we saw their previous performances, but they made sure they were in our spring land. However, we still have a lot more games coming in for you right after this break. Don't go anywhere.
Everybody wants to be under the spotlight until the spotlight burns, and that's what's happening to the teams at the very bottom of the table. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to TEZ Free Fire Max India Cup 2026 Fall. And for the first time from across the border, we have a new friend joining us today. His name is Husky, myself is Arka, and we'll try our best to keep that no stones are unturned as we'll be heading into the final 3 games of day number 1 in week 2, Husky. I hope the Indian teams are living up to your expectations.
Oh, they sure are. They not only lived up to my expectations, they have gone above and beyond to subvert what I have prepared coming into this. And I gotta say, there has been some surprises. The top dogs are still leading the pack. You know, RNTX, impressive. All 3 games finishing in top 3, 2 back-to-back booyahs. We had a bit of discussion about some of the front runners like GODLIKE Esports and TEZ, and they're also doing very well. But I'm also seeing some individual diamonds in the rough. Nobita, for example, we saw some of the storylines coming together, and they got 3 more games to make things right.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this is where I'd like to put you under the spotlight because previously we did see a question being asked. Do you see any T1 teams taking an exit? And as you've been watching us closely, do you feel that T1 teams have got the rhythm, or you feel like, they're going to go away?
So far, they have. Still have the rhythm. I think still is a very important key word because things could change in the next 3 games. But so far, they're looking so good. And with how things are looking like as we look at the game schedule, I am almost 100% confident that the Tier 1 teams that we just talked about are going to show up on that next stage.
Yeah, absolutely right. We have seen NG Pros, we have seen REVENANT, XSPARK, Apex Gaming and GODLIKE. Most of them tried to survive until the end, and that's why they've got so many rank points in compared to the eliminations. Yes, we'll be stepping into Solara next, so looking at the drop spot, we see a bit of a cluster towards the TV Tower region and the Bloomtown region. But at times, I have to give you this heads up, Husky, these teams are very much, deceiving. They try to show you something in the beginning, and all of a sudden you see them spread around.
Yeah, I've heard that even our good friends Lucifer early on talked about how some of these teams they are liars, right? They don't really go to the drop spot, but the keyword is preferred. I would like to see some deviations, so this has sort of been what defines the games on international stage, where deviations makes the difference.
Now, our predictions are going to just answer to the question which asks, do you feel T1 teams are going to go away, or are we expecting some disappointments? I don't think so, because these 3 teams in our prediction have been phenomenal throughout the day. They're showing us why they're considered as one of the best in the country so far. Let it be GODLIKE, Apex or REVENANT, XSPARK. But yes, you stick to the fan favorites for now, because REVENANT are on the verge of picking up their hat-trick booyahs, whereas I go towards GODLIKE, who are on the verge of grabbing one. Or rather, I would say they've grabbed one, almost, and they're looking to grab some more.
Yeah, they came close in game number 2, but, RNTX were able to clutch it out in what seemed to be a very messy final circle. I mean, I had the privilege to, commentate TAG on the recently concluded Esports World Cup, and they were the first team that got that booyah for India on that world stage. And seeing them right now, especially the individual clutches we saw from Shotor earlier on, the great survival play from KD God, I think they are in good hands, even though they don't get the booyah like our friends talked about, right? No booyahs in the group stage, no problem. When push comes to shove, suddenly they get a booyah, they walk away with the trophy.
Yeah, exactly. And also, it's all about being in the top 6, and that's what the teams are trying to do. And this is where I bring in your predictions, ladies and gentlemen, who are watching back home, especially the survivors out there. Let us know in the chat which among these teams do you feel are going to be in the top 3. I know there's going to be some repetitive names, but again, feel free to let us know your predictions as we look forward to a better storyline unfolding. There were 2 teams who are played together in the previous group. One is going to be CLUTZA, as well as one is going to be PVS. Now, both these teams are also coming in from city qualifiers, and somewhere I feel both these teams need to step up a bit more than what they're doing right now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to come from that mid game, especially the first 2 rounds that we witnessed. It was pretty eventful, right? A lot of these teams, they go for the drop, and throughout the early to late game there is always some fights happening. Game 3 is slowed down a little bit, and that's where we start to see the front runners really pull ahead of the pack, where, you know, you talk about how godlike esports behind the scenes are really good at reading the circle, and they have kept to that playbook for the entirety of this evening, and that has given them a very good advantage to make it sort of like to the top 6. And for TAG, they're just very good at making these clutch moments happen. Very contrasting personalities coming into this, but it is what's, you know, been defining their run so far.
Yeah, speak about contrast of all the gameplays out there. I would like to say that the bottom teams, especially teams like Team MVP, the gameplay itself feels like the other side of the coin. So far in the group stages, week 1, they've been dominated. They played so well, and all of a sudden in week 2, they start to feel the pressure, and under pressure, we have seen a lot of cookie crumble. So let's see in the upcoming games how things will turn out as we'll be heading into the next map of the day. It's going to be the map of Solara, and let me remind you guys to share among your friends. Don't be greedy to watch this game alone, as we'll be stepping into a map of chaos.
This is going to be crunch time as we are heading into the final half of today, at least for Group A, because by the end of this weekend, we are getting rid of another 18 teams. Brutal situation to be in, especially if you are the bottom 6, and with how some of the teams in front have already gotten a very solid foothold, that window is rapidly closing.
Absolutely. The flight path starting all the way from Studio ending towards the Delta Isle region, a little bit skewed to the southern side, but that still gives way for all the teams to get to their drop locations. Not many were trying to get to Riders Club as well as Windmill, so there's not going to be any team suffering as they travel forward, but an early skirmish, that is what we are viewing at. TV Tower was supposed to be packed, but for some reason we see that teams are shying away from the fights.
Even for the side of, you know, we talked about the preferred drop spots, right? There were supposed to be 3 teams at TV station, but only LearnFromPast followed sort of that preferred drop, and they actually were able to get that first blood early on onto Somi. So this is the kind of deviation that we were expecting. TAG decided to deviate more towards the eastern side and actually catch a decent timing where RE is, you know, rotating out of there. But with PVS approaching, there could be some 3-way fight happening.
Yeah, absolutely. TAG, only 2 players out here and on the zip lines as they try to be a bit aggressive because they realize that there are some uninvited guests and they need to pick up points either by elimination. Luckily, their IGL is kind of far away from both these players and very close to a vending machine, well prepared for these 2 lads. But for now, we see that RE Claus is come already too close to Shoto. Oh, both of them look at each other for some reason. Claus doesn't, and he dashes in, lands that shot perfectly. And I wonder what happened out there, because Shoto, even though he had a vague idea of where the opponents were, the opponent was completely unaware.
Yeah, it felt pretty weird because Shoto, he not only kind of rushed in front in broad daylight, but he actually had to use the charge buster, right? So everything had to fall into place. Obviously for Nagi, he was slightly asleep at the wheel, unfortunately, but PVS did arrive at the scene. So this could be the timing for ROFANI to get out of there and leave the fighting to both TAG, for TAG.
Yeah. Sadly, they've been stopped in their track. Honey gets taken down. It's the Chrono Shield which is trying to stop them, but IGL, Kerry God, he comes in closer. Being the sniper, he's supposed to maintain that distance, but this time around, lands shots perfectly. And ROFANI on the verge of extinction. And look at what Shoto does. He was sticking to that vending machine because he knew that he had to bring in a player if required, but PVS, now they've got an opportunity. A perfect time because the iron is hot.
Still looking good so far, and no script to take on the challenge as Nobita has already been taken down. That's the tip of the spear for PVS, and unfortunately, all 3 of them break in an instant, with TAG riding off of some momentum from the previous game of what they've witnessed that Shoto can put up on the table, and everyone else is stepping up. That's 6 points to boot.
I just love the way TAG just regrouped, you know. All 4 players were in 4 different directions. Apart from that of Shoto and Wolven were trying to take this fight out here. And all of a sudden we see that they're well-oiled unit. They're all come together and taking this fight, especially against PVS. We've got to learn more about how that fight turned out to be. But for now, we see that CLUTZA, they're moving in together as they're interested to take a fight. SGU, they've already lost a player or two. Make it 3 for now as they stand with the last man at a distance. Luckily, who can bring them back in.
They do have control of that high ground. Koshik is going to be a very important anchor for CLUTZA as they are slightly spread thin, but with the advantage of that bird's eye view. And it's just enough for them to see this minor skirmish happening between NG and MVP. A 1v3 that is not going well at all for Tusha. That should be a free elim going over to NG.
NG Pros, who have been exceptional so far. They hold the 4th position with just 1 booyah in their name. And I'm 100% sure that they're trying to have that controlled aggression. Get those early eliminations and then try to defend your fortress so that they try to survive until the end. Kerry got on the other side. No wonder we see him coming up every now and then. 6 headshots so far. Speak about the sniper being brutal.
It has been a big thing for this current meta, right? Where certain teams are even leaning towards the double snipers, but at least in FFMIC, they're still sticking to the more primal double rushes, in your face kind of gameplay, and I'm loving what we have here. As long as you have a gun, you have a chance to shoot. I think Klaus is looking for an opening here with that glue wall providing cover, but NG Pros, they did disengage, so no cigar there. Godlike now approaching TAG.
This is interesting. The 2 big bulls trying to lock ons, and this is what I love about Godlike. They're very good in deciding which is a good fight and a bad fight. They realize that if we try to take this fight, probably we're going to be pushed upon from another team altogether, because their position towards that windmill and the Delta Isle region is still the corner of the circle, or probably the edge of it. But TAG, look at them so well so far. It's Katie God as well as Shoto doing so well. You know, here comes a question yet again. Do you feel like this? Do you see any difference of a gameplay when you saw tag play EWC and you see tag play over here?
I think it's almost the same, right? If EWC has taught them anything, it's just to be a lot more composed in these high octane situations. As CLUTZA finds himself a couple of stragglers out in the open, actually gets shot from miles away, and I believe that's going to be an NG Pros doing the deed. White Ghost, couple of tags, but no takedowns. But back to your question, I think, you know, TAG, they're just really good at these aggressive maneuvers, and that's why they are scary when they got the tempo going. That's sort of what got them booyahs, multiple booyahs on that world stage. And evidently, when it came to the grand finals, they couldn't keep up with the big dogs, but prior to that, they were quite the force to be reckoned with.
Becoming a better force is going to be their top priority, but for now, Revenant and XSPARK, they have turned out to be the best team in the lobby so far. 2 booyahs already, 89 points so far, and look at them chase down the final player. It's Sohan, lands that final nail in the coffin. LFP, they're put to rest for now, making 8 eliminations for Revenant and XSPARK in this game.
Yep. They are still holding on to their first place. You can see on the standings on the right side of the screen. We're just going to put them in almost in the clear for that knockout stage qualification. In fact, the cutoff right now, we're looking at 40 points held by CLUTZA, and that is going to be a very important point of contention. Earlier on, we did see Godlike Esports decide to not engage TAG, but they also left themselves sort of like a back door to back off to, and I believe it will be Delta Isle on that eastern side of the map. Just give them a bit of that breathing space to work with in case they want to play that mid to late game a bit slower. So going against what we have seen in the first half of this evening, where they will always walk with the circle, this time there is a chance that they will take it a bit slower.
Yeah, but again, look at this. The circle betraying Godlike for the first time as they are very much outside of the circle. That is going to give us a newer perspective as to how this team is going to take fights. But for now, TAG, the 4-man standing, are giving a very tough chance. Marco trying to use the melee in the close range will be stopped in his track as Sahil was able to put him down. And an immediate revival on Shoto. Tag are looking one of the strongest teams when it comes to firepower. All of a sudden, they've got 10 eliminations. They're looking more promising than ever.
Nancy being found out in the open. So RNTX also keeping up in terms of elims, make it 9 now in this game. Early on, I believe TEZ, they have 2 Riptide Rhythms and they just use one of it in the early skirmish. So that means that they're going to be ready for a fight if it ever comes to them. Shoto with the zip line, able to make his great escape as Arsh finally gets attacked, but actually ends up shooting Sahil instead. It does give enough room for TEZ to completely disengage, and RNTX, they don't want a piece of that, so they will back off.
And this is for the first time, Husky, I see a calm before the storm, man. I've not seen teams having such a break before getting into the circle. They've always been involved in skirmishes here and there, picking up eliminations. But this time around, we see the number speaks for itself. When you look at the LM feed, or rather I would say the point standings on the right side, we see many teams are still having just 6 eliminations so far.
And that's the thing about aggressive and fast-paced lobby, right? The main question isn't who is better at fighting. The main question is who can fight longer. And I think as we progress to the later stages of this lobby, you can see the fatigue starting to catch up, because all these fast-paced engages are going to start wearing on some of these teams, especially those who are trying to get into top 6. That replay giving us a good glimpse of what RTP has accomplished behind the scenes, getting a couple of points under their belt as well. But unfortunately for GODLIKE, like you mentioned early on, Arca, for the first time today, the circle betrays them, and it is going to only get worse.
The 3 teams sticking together as they move into the circle, sadly, is TEZ, our Revenant, XSPARK, and GODLIKE. Our 3 predictions seems to be in a lot of trouble. Look at what Yogi is trying to do. Get into an angle from where he can shoot down these vehicles or trying to get away. But for some reason, he chooses not to. Oh, wise decision. He goes into rev one of his teammates. He's got enough coins. And let me remind you, GODLIKE always end up with a lot of coins no matter what.
2.2k in the hands of Yogi. His reputation precedes him as what you say, one of the greatest shot callers and captain that GODLIKE has had.
Yeah.
And now we'll have to find a way out of that blue zone. Was able to dodge RNTX earlier on and stay hidden. But now has to lead GODLIKE, who the rest of his team members are actually in a safe spot. But to get Yogi there to reconvene with them, it's going to be quite the challenge. TEZ already out of the lobby. So this is now a very good opportunity for the rest of the teams to catch up on point.
Absolutely, especially the teams in the bottom. Look at this. We see Revenant and XSPARK. They're also on the receiving end of things, and PVS for the first time are looking more composed than they were in the previous rounds. SGO, again the same fate. They get eliminated way early on, pushing them more down in the overall standing. But yes, with PVS getting an opportunity to rise up to the occasion, let's see how well they can play it out, as right now all the teams were prioritizing the circle, especially for that of NG Pros holding the center of it. Will have such a great time. And we did speak about it. They were betrayed with Booyahs, but this time around, they can pick it up.
Khonshu is going to be an impact player. You have to wait for the stealth bites to come back of cooldown. I was expecting him to go on a longer exploration, but didn't want to play it too risky, which is completely fine. With PVS though in the radar of RNTX, Nobita is going to get taken down. Backup coming in very quickly as the rescue squad on the scene. Krish trying to get his teammates back up, and Script will be the one that provides cover, but at the cost of his own life as well. Now have to find a way out of this situation. And unfortunately for PVS, RNTX got the better of them. Krish now caught out of the side. In the back of Sohan finds the clutch revive before he falls. And PVS gets another chance.
Oh, PVS fighting it hard, clawing the way. They're trying to do their best, but the only 2 people alive right now are in the air. But ROFANI trying to take this fight at the corner of the circle, because they know that if they let Revenant XSPARK enter the circle, the story is done for. 15 eliminations so far. The Wolves are still howling in this game as they get one more element in there. Look at this push coming in from the side of ROFANI. They're giving their best, and yes, they put them out. The top teams out there, ladies and gentlemen, are all getting eliminated. And as my friend said, this could be an opening for the teams in the bottom.
It's a good chance for GODLIKE to catch up as well. Arsh almost pulls off what Shoto did in the previous game with that shotgun in hand. A close 1v3, but RE wasn't about to let that happen. Right in the open though, unfortunately, Nagi has his back exposed. And they're going to be under fire now with the Riptide Rhythm coming in. Is a quick wipeout as 3 teams band together to take them out.
ROFANI, after doing so much of God's work, now they say goodbye from the lobby. This could be an opportunity though for Godlike, I would say, because again, IGL proves to us why he's one of the best when it comes to the rotation. Look at him holding the center of the circle, and now he's got hard cover as well. Whereas the rest of the squad, as they fight it out to get as many eliminations as possible. We see that CLUTZA, NG Pros, all these teams trying to do their best to take down KINGZ army.
As previously stated, Yogi didn't make it to rejoin his team, so Godlike will have to play with the remaining field, but Yogi can now make the calls without having to be physically involved. Could still give the team some direction, but NG Pros, they have a great direction to head towards. 11 eliminations and 3 pickings onto King out there. And this will give them a very good head start, right, to catch up to some of the points as they are currently seated in 4th place, right in the middle of the safe zone.
The circle now shifts away from all these squads, and now we'll have to wait and watch which amongst them will choose to fight and which amongst them will try to prioritize the circle. MVP, I would say the Lady Luck is on their side in this game, as they have a bit of a hard cover and also a view of the rest of the squad, so they can choose whom to pounce upon when given a time. But Godlike, look at them, they're done waiting. They kind of getting closer. Nancy decides that this could be a bit dangerous, falls back immediately. Yogi's call is precise. Now, since they've got information that they can't go forward, they'll choose to go backward.
Yep. To see if any of the important binoculars is going to be used at this point of time. Especially, not many teams know where Godlike Esports are at, except for NG, but they are also preoccupied by CLUTZA. The return fire from Klaus. Klaus with a twofer now, as he's starting to light up NG. That is going to start putting on some pressure to CLUTZA. Greatly denied by the time turner, but NG will now have to look for cover. Badao needs to save his teammate. Gopu will be safe for now, and CLUTZA's pressure is only mounting.
NG Pros, the more you pressurize them, the more they turn out to be shining diamonds, as they've got 12 eliminations. Look at them, very quick on reviving their teammates now. Oh my god, for the first time I see a team come up with a different kind of an approach. Eventually we'll have to pay a very hefty price as they lose 2 players. Godlike on the other side are also not having such a great run as they try to make it inside the circle. Now walking in the footsteps of Non-Stop Gaming. CLUTZA, what a good approach to this fight. MVPs also fly in. This could be a fight to finish.
I am baffled, Arca. Why NG gave up the most powerful spot in that current situation, but they are in the center of the circle. Here comes Godlike though, as CLUTZA just made quick work of NG. Can Godlike rip the reverse here? Unfortunately, no. Eco ends up running into the crosshairs of CLUTZA, and it's Nancy all alone here, but he's receiving some help from RTP and MVP. Godlike somehow hanging on. Bully with his back exposed with sliver of health makes it to safety, and Nancy will be forced to drop the donut as well. Somehow Godlike makes it a top 3 again.
Godlike, what a game this is turning out to be. Nancy, the survivor, won't be surviving anymore, and a new team out there might pick up the booyah. Ladies and gentlemen, it's MVP versus RTP, Retired Pros. This is where we'll see for the first time pushing in forward. Struggle will have to prove to his ex-teammates that yes, he's also worthy of being out here. Rupesh, as he was the first point of contact, now a lot of throwables being tossed towards them. MVPs are in a bit of trouble, but none of them are losing a bit of HP. The push comes in out here as one of the players gets taken down. It's time for them to retaliate. Rupesh trying to do his best. He also gets taken down. Retired Pros says that we are not retired anymore because we've got some experience up our shoulder, as they walk away with the booyah in the most stylish way possible. The MVPs will get succumbed as the Retired Pros shows their way out of the lobby.
Beautiful Riptide Rhythm to set up that fight was temporarily denied by the chrono time turner, but the rush was perfectly executed. RTP, this was something in the making. There are some superstars in the team, primarily struggle here, as previously pointed out, and now RTP puts themselves under the spotlight for the remainder of the evening.
Yeah, absolutely. But as you correctly pointed out, there was no necessity for somebody to push in against RTP, right? The dash came in, the first point of contact actually came in from the opponents, which was very well taken away and defended by that of Retired Pro. 16 eliminations and 12 placement points. I would love, Husky, for you to break down this last shot.
Again, we see the Riptide Rhythm from Fire. I say it was greatly executed, but the time turner, right? It was able to buy a bit of time for RTP, because when the Riptide Rhythm came in, MVP committed to the push, and then the time turner sort of denied the long range support from MVP and allowing Retired Pros to have just a bit of that extra space to win out their CQC before converting into a Booyah. And Blood is going to be the MVP of this game.
Yeah, adding to another point, RTP, they were very well in picking up their fallen comrades, right? They had that Thiva, even in the final fight. As soon as they saw that players were getting taken down, the quick revives and the recovery was so strong that they were able to walk away with the Booyah. And the combination, as always, for a frontline assaulter is being exceptional. He's more of a support assaulter, if I would like to say, with Chrono as well as the Joseph. Nikita for the quick reload and the Thiva for the quick revive. They've got two Thivas amongst themselves. So, yeah, the team could take all the chance they need.
Yeah, running the 2 tag markers and 2 team booster. This is a very standard loadout for Battle Royale. Obviously, Morse now is very much on the market. But when you have a Chrono, Oscar, and Cassie, it makes up a very strong 3-man front, and that's exactly what Retired Pros took advantage of. We even saw Salu playing long range, and it's between the battle of the snipers, but the difference maker was just how RTP was able to handle that CQC push. Like I mentioned, that Chrono time turner bought more than enough time, just 1 or 2 seconds to make them that breathing space to win those fights.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, again, there's one combination I've seen lately, right? The Grenadiers are inclining towards KC lately, and that comes up with a bit of a responsibility to not only stay alive, but also to heal, their teammates. Do you feel a Grenadier with a KC can do a better job, or you would still go back to Alvaro?
I think Alvaro right now is sort of like an option, right? It's no longer a primary pick. I've seen teams run the Alvaro for the extra explosive power, but even Grenadiers nowadays are more gravitated towards the Chrono, so Alvaro is not really in the equation. But every now and then you still see some of them, but maybe more towards Clash Squad rather than Battle Royale. Though he's not completely irrelevant though. There are still moments where a good grenade can end a skirmish, especially in the final circle.
Absolutely, we have seen that happen before, but for now we look at the point standing. Retired Pros with 28 points. They bounce back hard with MVP with 22. REVENANT XSPARK have always been exceptional in their consistency as they get another podium with 18 points in total. NG Pros also replicate the same, but kind of sad for teams like PBS and SGU who are still single digit no matter what. But the circle analysis is where we saw, especially look at what GODLIKE does. All the way from TV Tower, they get to Delta Isle, and from Delta Isle, they end up fighting another squad until they take their own sweet time to make it inside the circle.
They actually got the circle read up to this point, right? Where we see Yogi, he was just way too far. And he got picked up by CLUTZA on the way to join his team, and that really put GODLIKE in quite a precarious position. But one of the primary reasons they were still able to finish top 3 in placement was also because of a bit of a lapse of judgment there from NG, who decided to leave a stronghold out into the open without much cover to work with, and that allowed CLUTZA to get a couple of free eliminations on the way. But the final fight came down to Retired Pros and MVP, and Retired Pros just had the tools to win.
The two teams which took fight in every single circle out there were rewarded with a Booyah. Yes, that comes up with a lot of elimination points as well. But when we look at the overall standing, we'll get a better picture as to which among these teams have got a better chance. Because Retired Pros, they climbed 3 positions to get to the 6th spot. The safe cushion of 48 points. But let me tell you this, they're still not undercover because there's some heavy hitters coming right behind them with LEARNFROMPAST with 45, KINGZ Army with 42, ROFANI with 39, and MVPs. In case they want to make a comeback, they better look for a Booyah.
And this plays to what we literally discussed during the pre-show of sure the top teams are most likely going to make it through to knockouts, but a lot of things can change within one round, and we are starting to see the shift in that standing, right? Where Retired Pros and CLUTZA, they make it the top 6 for now, but the cutoff point isn't really too far between 6 and 7. And I think, learn from past. They had a decent round in this game on Solara. ROFANI as well. They made some magic happen, but unfortunately got picked off during rotation right after surviving a skirmish. Even MVP made it to the final circle. So I think the teams, like Retired Pros, they're not out of the woods just yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Retired Pros, once they get that momentum, you also need to maintain that momentum, and that's what they'll be looking out for. Nonetheless, we saw that previous gaming, right? This is where, I would like to bring in a bit more insight of yours. What do you think is going wrong with PVS? Because at times we see them take the strongest of the teams for a 4v4 and do exceptionally good. But later we see them just get extinguished in between the game.
I think a lot of times, just based off of what I've observed in other regions, a team that usually kind of starts off strong in the CQC, that has a good reputation, and then suddenly falls off. A lot of times it's because of third-party intervention, right? And I think in PVS's case, it's either they get caught out in the open or they just weren't ready to take the fight. And it makes a huge difference in a lobby where everyone likes to fight. And I think that's something that PVS needs to keep up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would also like to add a point that good fight and bad fight. Right? Even in the previous one where they saw Nobita got taken down, 2 of them went for a backup, that too outside of the circle, which fight was unnecessary for them actually. But still they tried to do it. But looking at our predictions, it seems like you still love the fan favorites, but I kind of start to incline towards the others out there. With CLUTZA building up that momentum, I feel like, they're going to do well. And NG Pros, since they've learned the lesson the hard way, they might, immediately learn from it. And previous gaming, hoping to see them making a comeback.
Yeah, I would say some of these teams are starting to really capture my interest, right? Aside from the front runners. And we are heading into my favorite map, Kalahari. It is a map that I still believe till this day is the hardest map to play. A lot of teams, even the most experienced ones, struggle to adapt just because of, not just because of the lay of the land, but also because of the approach and the utility that Kalahari provides for you with the hook gun and a lot of open ground when you have to make rotations and take late game fights. This is where the snipers get put to the test. And it seems like a lot of our teams are big fans of Refinery.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as long as I get entertainment in Kalahari, I love the map as well. Because we have seen players like the snipers, especially, let it be Yogi, let it be KD God, they always have a hell of a time when it comes to Kalahari. It's a sniper's paradise is what I would like to call it, always in the beginning and also until the end. Nonetheless, I also like it when the circle falls to Refinery, where we have that 2-floor, 3-floor kind of fights taking place, and ultimately we come into a complete entertainment in the final circle. So hoping all of this to take place, ladies and gentlemen, yet again I put you guys under the spotlight. Let me know which among these teams out there are your favorites and which amongst them will be making it into the top 3. And hopefully that's for something for us to read out in a moments to come. But Husky, the Indian lobby seems to be a little bit different from the others for sure. Point out one point which you feel is like the most unique thing you have seen in an Indian lobby.
Brings me back to 2021 or 2020, or early 2022s, where Vector Akimbos was still a thing. It felt like the Wild West. A big part of it felt like the Wild West, where everyone, whatever guns I get, I'm going to start shooting. It's less about the meta and more about whether I can get the elims, which I think is completely fine, because this was sort of what shook up EWC at Paris, right? Just a month ago, where the Indian teams, they came in, they took some time on day 1 to warm up, and day 2, we see, TAG, we see IQ Total Gaming, they started to not only get booyahs, but they started to actually challenge the veterans. And this aggressive playstyle, it might make the difference, because against teams that are already used to taking it slow and prep for the mid to late, you can catch them off guard early on and get that advantage.
Yeah, let's see whether that's gonna be the case. But ladies and gentlemen, it seems to be an early fight where Nobita goes to challenge his ex-teammates. Is not having such a great time as the eliminations are just being picked up. Yogi goes incognito, gets in closer, but the Chrono Shield is gonna protect the opponents, and that is where he's gonna fall down. But luckily, he's got that backup immediately. 2 eliminations so far for Godlike, looking as aggressive as possible. But TEZ, they come in also to chime in over here. And they're also picking up some eliminations.
Yeah, the gas might have started to run out for Godlike. The captain down again. This time, no rescue is coming in. And I think it is high time for them to make their way out of here. Not for Eco though. Good balance there to take him down, Klaus. He traded back very, very quickly. CLUTZA loses 1 in the process. Off screen. Same for ROFANI. But we have TAG that starts off 1.5 minutes in with 6 elims, Arca.
Yeah, and they've challenged one of the best, but the gods, they get eliminated. And the first team to exit. My goodness, not something which we were expecting to see. Nonetheless, see that retired pros are now trying to take a fight against Revenant XSPARK, and they're not having a good time. Vincent prepares that fight for his teammate, and Sohan was able to pick it up easily.
I literally just answered your question about this being the Wild West, and we see TAG start off Kalahari with 6 elims. What? Some things, you know, you just can't run away from it. But I want to see if TAG can continue to carry that momentum forward, or are they just gonna settle with... Never mind, they answered my question. They got 3 more. That's 9 already. They are out for blood. But have they bitten off more than they could chew? Woven certainly has, as Badal will get that elim. But TAG says it's okay. We get a full revive. Amongst the 9 eliminations, you got 4 on Shoto and 5 on Woven. And I believe they were on a 2-2 split? What?
Yeah. Exactly. We saw...
Man.
Yeah, we saw Soil somewhere else, and the rest of the team were actually taking a fight at Refinery. Nonetheless, this team still continues to impress us. But one thing I've seen so far, I'm going to spill the beans. Apex, their aim is to get 9 to 10 eliminations at the get-go. And after which, they cool down so much, they always end up looking forward for the late game. So let's see if somebody's able to crack that properly. Try to avoid fights with them at the beginning, and then try to take them in the later stages of the game. But for now, we see that PBS is still under pressure as they take another fight altogether. Rupesh versus Krish, Konshu versus Etazo, and Tushar versus Script. All 3 of them having a good time.
And Rupesh actually waited out the Painter's Refuge early on before that nade. So has already forced Krish to get tagged and actually goes in for the rush. That was the right decision to immediately find that conversion. Very good stuff from MVP, but they might have to start paying for it. Konshu right around the corner. It's going to be under pressure. Tries to play ring around the Rosie against MVP. Completely loses the gunfight. The Mac 10 on Etazo's hands. Does a lot more work. PBS having to pay for that.
No coins whatsoever, but Nobita not having such a great day yet again. He's going to be the person to get taken down, and the pressure mounts. MVP on the other side, all of a sudden, they choose to get away from Shines. Is this a good decision, or are they heading to the nearest vending machine? But TAG on the other side, 13 eliminations, and now they've started to feel the pressure as Sahil yet again steps up and revives the rest of his teammates. 14 so far, and they're enjoying every bit of Santa Catarina.
14 eliminations, man. Woven and Shoto having a time of their life. KD got not having to do much. Well, taken down again, but I'm pretty sure they will bring him back. Woven also found out, I believe it was a CLUTZA is getting these snipes. And I think, you know, for TAG, as much as they have 14 eliminations, which is technically more than the equivalence of a Booyah, you still have to get some placement points. So these early aggressions might have to be, you know, contained just a little bit so that they could prep for that mid to late game.
I somewhere feel, you know, it all depends on how many coins you've got, and also are you close to a vending machine. As long as you've got these two, they don't mind heading up to another man's house, knocking at their doorsteps and try to take a fight. That's what TAG is all about. Look at that, 15 elims, and now I see 800. Oh my god, they're picking up more coins, and that means they're going to look for more fights anytime soon.
If they have a Suzy on their hands, it's even better. Extra coin in the bank. TAG just again, when you look at the replay, they are just picking fights left, right, and center. And better yet, taking control of Santa Catarina fully with 15 eliminations. And we have barely seen more than half of this lobby, spring into action, right? This was sort of what was expected when we look at Kalahari as a map where teams prep for the mid to late.
Yeah.
So TEG, they're definitely the anomaly this time.
Absolutely. Revenant XSPARK on the other side I'm kind of shocked to see that now they're on the back foot as they're trying to take fights slowly. They're not involving in any kind of a kerfuffle, unnecessary ones. But SGU, Afiz, he has to run away from this position as he's one of the last few standing to revive his teammates. SGU also one of those teams who are very good when it comes to close range battles, but it's just that they're unable to understand and adapt to the lobby.
King's Army needs to make a decision as well on where to head towards. They have the UAV as a guiding beacon.
Oh no.
My final beta. The rest of PVS, they have to be ready for this, and they should be. And indeed they are. Zedzor almost fell. First glue wall in the wrong angle. Sahil actually getting taken down mid-rotation as well. TAG wants command post, but they have to flush RE out of here first.
TAG needs to be careful because this split and lesser coins could be a little bit problematic, and that's what they do. Shoto, KD God and Wolvin, they come together. And now they can revive their teammates to make sure it's a full-man squad. Yes, before I could complete, they see Sile is going to be bought back. And that means now they're left out with just 200 coins. And Wolvin says it's better we get a bit of a bird-eye view. As they get in closer towards command post, we see that several other teams, for the first time, we see more than 5 teams are actually outside of the circle, even though it's just the second one.
And there's a clear divide on who is playing it slow. Fight goes on the struggle. Good secure that. 6 lanes for NG. Gotta start pushing in though, through that lightning zone from the boat maker. High chances by retired pros, but the blue wall placement is good enough. And the hook gun allows the 3-1 formation to basically be in the perfect spot. Blood late on the jump, absolutely punished.
Sometimes you learn the lesson the hard way, and that's what retired pros have been put through. Somi trying to do his best, holding on to this position. CLUTZA, now they feel it's time for them to push in, as it's got to be Shubo and Klaus trying to get in closer. The Riptide Rhythm not hitting the right spot. This could be a little bit problematic for CLUTZA as NG Pros try to recover. Anubhav trying to do their best, but this time CLUTZA, they've got the pulse of this game as they put down players. But Badal, luckily, he falls back at the right time. But is he out of troubles? I don't think so. For some reason, it seems like he is.
And the CLUTZA, they are going above and beyond right now to make sure that they find their spot in the knockouts. I always like the saying of it's not how you start, it's how you finish, because it applies especially to Free Fire, where you can have the best opener and still fall short of the finishing line. Really wants to make sure that he solidifies that statement. Hunt for their 11th point of this game and make it look easy along the way.
Your statement of it doesn't mean how you start, it always means how you end, right? If there's any team which can just be a good example for that statement, it has to be GODLIKE. They always start up being one of the best in the lobby. It's just that they can't end up having a really good run by the end of the tournament. But for now, CLUTZA, it seems like they can still sniff out struggle at a distance, and they're eager to put an end for NG Pros.
At a UAV, that's going to be the undoing of struggle. It has to be a miracle to rig out of this, and that miracle could come in the form of SGU, Russia. Of course, providing some unintended aid. Revive still comes through and struggle with the rush. And that's going to be his mistake there. But not only did CLUTZA get the eventual point, but Koshik is in such a strong spot, and he is going to be the maker here in this fight. As SGU commits to the push on that low ground, they gotta find a way to win when there is high ground support from CLUTZA. As they are in the perfect position, Klaus is gonna be the first one to go down first, but the rest of CLUTZA are rallying, and Koshik is getting everything done.
Yeah, even though Koshik has got enough so far, sadly is going to be losing most of his players. But guess what? The revivals come through. And all of them are just back and kicking. Shoto, now he'll have to jump away quickly. Yes, he does it. Luckily, he's the more clever one, if you ask me, because if he had shot up in the air, he would have been taken down just like his teammate. But guess what? Revenant XSPARK, they choose the right time to rush in, as an off angle being held by Vincent is going to give them so much of cover. They're still on the verge of getting eliminated. Sohan gets taken down, and that means Vincent and Hush will have to take this fight head on.
Pretty unfortunate because Kunal, I believe, have the grenade launcher in his hands, but got shot down by a Raphael. So bled out way too quickly before his teammate can bring him back, and that's going to be a gone case for the grenade launcher, which could have made a difference, especially on Kalahari when you go for these kind of pushes. But they do get the revive back, so RNTX still having the 15 eliminations, just 2 behind a TAG and CLUTZA. The TAG, speak of the devil, is Shoto now, left to his own devices, out in the open with nowhere to go. With the woodpecker in hand, has to fight his way out of this. Against NG, Valiant dash to reposition, but he's out in the open and nothing left in the tank. There goes TAG.
And look at the audacity they have to take that fight, right? Or rather say audacity, because running out in the open, when you know the 2 players are in cover trying to take the fight, shows that they were eager to just finish that game. Nonetheless, we've got Revenant XSPARK right now, who are doing really good for themselves. NG Pros on the other side. The controlled aggression, the slow aggression, for some reason is not working out.
We literally said that you can get a lot of its eliminations, but you still need the placements, and TAG unfortunately ends up with 0 placement points this round. The only saving grace being that 17 elims. PBS finally makes their appearance on that big screen here. NG gonna try and make a getaway here with that booster, and he should gain enough distance. Blood falls to the blue off screen, and a couple of elims come through again. CLUTZA hitting the big 20 in Kalahari.
Only 4 to 5 teams are actually eager to take fights, and all of them are getting rewarded. Revenant XSPARK with 15, CLUTZA with 20, PBS with 18, and SGU with 13. Oh, PBS also with 13. So that means the rest of the squad will have to make sure that they survive until the end. NG Pros on the other side, Kalahari doesn't seem to be the best map.
Yeah, not at all. Again, it's a very tricky map. Even if you win fights, if it ends in the open, there's a high chance that people will capitalize on it. Again, this replay, CTZ, what a push. I gotta say, Koshi has been on the ball this game. Finger on the pulse of Kalahari. He always finds the best position. And as a sniper, it is an incredibly difficult task to do, but he always finds the right spot to provide backup for his team.
But NG Pros yet again find the best house in the circle, from where they can choose to take any fight required. Truth be told, they don't need to get involved in any fights and get some more position points, but PBS, since they've got 15 so far and everything is going in their favor, they're eager to get into more fights as they push in over here. The Chrono Shield, Honey, I wonder why he escaped that, and now he might face the music for it. Krish lands one perfectly with a Max 7, turns around to land another one. We'll be getting a 3K in that fight, and ROFANI, we were not prepared for Khonshu.
You talked about sort of the struggles of PBS, of them taking unnecessary fights, but this time they had refined that formula. 18 eliminations and a very good chance of recouping whatever they have lost in the first leg of this evening. CLUTZA needs to get Klaus back up first, but with the cover of the tent, it's going to be doable. Koshik goes into the stealth bites. Bit of an expedition, but not much places that he can rotate to, and that is the bane when playing on Kalahari in that late game. Whatever compound that you get could also be your undoing. You asked me about Alvaro and Grenadiers, the importance of Grenadiers. In this situation, it is going to break CLUTZA if any of these teams have that.
CLUTZA still making sure that their strongest forte is the hard compound they're holding. 3 of my predictions are playing out here, and I'm happy so far. Revenant XSPARK, now they're pushing against RTP. Retired Pros, are they prepared for Revenant XSPARK? Because the Howls, they've been phenomenal when it comes to executing fight. The IGL, he knows whom to place when. and I would say he's the best chess player in this game.
Especially Kunal, who's single-handedly holding the stairwell. Vincent also making sure that he keeps a good watch, but Somi actually pops him with a charge buster. RNTX getting caught out in the open as they forced to vacate the building. Now down to just 3 members with the blue closing in. Arch is gonna have to make some crucial decisions to back up his teammates, but from Weirdo, seems that the broken walls is going to be the direction that he heads towards. Sohan being blocked off by the blue wall, now needs support from the rest of his team to break right through, but it's 2 layers. And NG buying a lot of time with Gopu with reinforcing that defense, and RNTX starting to get worn out.
RNTX still persistent to make sure they put on 1 player. I would rather say that they need to make sure that they step out right now, because CLUTZA, as they inch in closer, they sniff out that player and they might get an upper chance or a better chance to take down REVENANT XSPARK. On the other side, now got an opportunity. Comes up from a corner from where he can get in and heal himself up before stepping out. But all windows have now been fortified, and I wonder how he's going to make it out.
But Gopu, the fact that he survived that onslaught from RNTX for so long is impressive, but I think his time is up. Final 3 teams, RNTX spent so much time trying to get Gopu. They didn't have much left for the final circle. And we did talk about CLUTZA and PVS coming online in the latter half of this evening, and both of them are now in the final circle, with PVS with 21 eliminations, and a bit CLUTZA should also have almost the same amount. PVS now going in for the push, breaks the glue wall. That's going to be a 1-for-1 trade so far. The sniper Khonshu has already been taken down. Bully called to the rescue, but unfortunately has to backtrack as PVS are right in their faces. Nobita getting the work done. Krish with 9, and CLUTZA left with just a Bully. The AWM in hand might be able to make magic happen here, but he needs a couple of good shots.
23 eliminations so far, a 1v2 situation. If Bully pulls this off, he might be the best sniper out there. Nobita, they come in with different directions. But Script, he makes a mistake of healing out in the open. Nobita needs to be careful as he gets it closer. He also gets taken down. Bully literally bullying the lobby and getting that booyah for himself. What a game this has turned out to be. The final 2 players, they could have been in unison. They could have rushed in together against the sniper, but rather they choose to come in single-handed, and that is how Bully pulls them off. My goodness, CLUTZA, what a moment this is for them.
Living up to the name for sure. 25 eliminations and a booyah. That's 37 points. And God forbid that they have not earned the slot in the knockouts, because this could be that ticket in to the next week. And your prediction right on the money, Arca, with CLUTZA in first. But I gotta say, PVS really dropping the ball a little bit towards the very end. As you pointed out, when you're up against it in a 2v1, you do not give the isolated gunfights. And the fact that you were literally telling me that the sniper players, they are more expendable because in final circle fights you need CQC. Bully won with an AWM, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I just loved every bit of it. But I believe that PVS, they made a very big mistake out here. Look at this. This was the moment. There was no necessity for Script to stand out in the open and heal. And after which, Nobita, no necessity for him to push. He could have waited for Bully to come out in the open. And for snipers to step out of a hard cover and then try to take the fight where the opponent is always on the move is always a disadvantage. Sticking out to your textbook basics is something PVS did not do, and due to which they have to pay a very hefty price. Nonetheless, the last shot and the smiles on the faces of CLUTZA says it all. The deserving team, but Bully, 11 eliminations with 5,800 damage. Man, this was unstoppable performance coming in from this lad.
Yeah, especially when he literally has the Moko as part of his slowdown. You want to give him isolated fights? Be his guest, because Bully has eyes on his opponents the entire final sequence. A bit of an unfortunate one, because I was very sure that PVS got the moment. They had the advantage, they had the execution, they did everything they can, right? They even took out the sniper of CTZ, which has been the anchor for the entire game, but they just got a bit sloppy towards the very end. It started with Koshik having a phenomenal early to mid game, and it ended with Bully as the MVP, as the closer for the team.
No, for the rest of them, right? I want to see how much damage were they able to deal. The Rafael out there with Kaushik. You know, as a Grenadier having a Rafael, okay. The Maro and the Alvaro. All right. Okay. This is something different. Nonetheless, we see that Klaus on the other side has got 4 eliminations with 2000 damage. Shubho with 4 eliminations and 2000 damage. Yeah, it was Kaushik and Bully were trying to, you know, read the lobby, dominate the lobby as they have 4000 plus damage with good number of eliminations as well.
Yeah, this was a slaughter fest for CLUTZA. They were taking fights left, right, and center. They basically did what TEZ did, but a lot better, as they were able to again secure that 37 points at the very end. But for PVS, as much as it was a bit of an error at the final fight, they still walk away with 33 points. So nothing to be disappointed about, but a lesson to be learned in how to approach these final moments of a skirmish just to get to the booyah. REVENANT XSPARK again, another top 3 finish.
Yeah, and right after them is going to be Team Consistency. That's Apex Gaming. We've got 17 in the name, and none of them coming from placement points, and that's how good they are when it comes to frontal battle. SGU Esports on the other side, they've got 16 in total, 13 eliminations. NG Pros trying to strike a balance, but with this, ladies and gentlemen, we look at how CLUTZA was able to pull this off, starting all the way from Santa Catarina to confinement, and then after which at Bayfront, they held on to that position for a long time, after which they went on to challenge a lot of teams around that region, and then eventually had to make it into the final circle.
And you did make a very good point during the game where you said, during this game where you said the teams who are willing to take these fights, you know, are getting rewarded, and we see it play out, right? CLUTZA and PVS, they were the biggest benefactors of that. Of course, REVENANT XSPARK, RTP, and NG Pros, they did take a break somewhere in the middle, but I think CLUTZA, they stopped doing Circle 5 to focus on the rotation, and that was also when a lot of these fights broke out, especially for REVENANT XSPARK, who were trying to find that last member of NG Pros, and that got them killed as well.
Absolutely, but ladies and gentlemen, the overall standing of the day, and suddenly we see a lot of changes out there. Retired Pros, they hold on to the same spot as NG Pros and GODLIKE. They fall down with CLUTZA's exceptional performance, picking up 1 booyah. They'll be stepping up 2 positions. It's good for us to say the top 3 seems like they've sealed themselves into the next round, but the others will now have to fight it out. PVS Gaming, yes, they're trying to claw their way up, but I believe it's a little bit too late. All they can do is now target Retired Pros and try to make it to the top 6.
Yeah, I think it's at this point in time, it's pretty hard for the top 3 to not make it. I mean, REVENANT XSPARK, they've gone above and beyond, right? The consistency speaks for itself. The only team to have 3-digit points so far. I'm pretty sure TEG will catch up in the next game. But the cutoff right now, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be 60 points. And we have to see if RTP can hold on to that spot, because PVS, they're catching up. They're catching up pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. RTP, they've got a bit of experience under their shoulder, and probably that could be the only reason why they can get qualified if they put it in use. Nonetheless, PVS, they've got Nobita and some young bloods doing exceptional when it comes to those rotations and fights as well. But before we move forward, yet again, which teams do you think will not make it? Is going to be the question for the audience. I want to put you guys under the bus and let us know which teams might not make it. But in this game, I feel this is where ROFANI might step up. ROFANI is one of those teams who have done exceptional in those final moments of every other game. So I'm hoping to see them walk away with a booyah.
Yeah, and I did mention that some of the teams are starting to really, gain my interest. CLUTZA is one of them, but this being the randomizer, I'm hoping we'll go Kalahari again. I want to see if, the teams that were super aggressive on Kalahari early on are going to show the same approach, right? And if they do, is it going to work out the same? Because a lot of times, teams, they have a very good game, and then they run out of gas the game after if we get onto the same map. So I'm hoping for Kalahari.
Now, if I have to place another team out there who can actually, be a menace in the lobby this time around, it's going to be GODLIKE. Because now, since they know that they've almost qualified, they could be the loose cannons of the lobby, just like that of Team Apex Gaming, who have been phenomenal when it comes to firepower, who are just challenging every other team out there. Once they know that there's a team in front of them and no HP, no resources, they still dare to step out of the cover, try to see how well they can execute shots under pressure. So let's see how it goes. But ladies and gentlemen, as I said, this could be the moment for you to shine. Let us know in the chat which is going to be the upcoming map in the map of Randomizer, because my friend out here wants Kalahari.
Kalahari is always going to be my choice. I've been a huge advocate for Kalahari. I know a lot of people. Well, never mind. We are okay. For a moment, I thought it was decided already. But I remember when Alpine got removed from the pool, a lot of people were heartbroken, and I'm just there like, as long as it's not Kalahari, I'm good. Right? And Kalahari should stay because it is one of the biggest X factor that could throw the balance of the ongoing competition off in a good way, because it feels like the final test for some of these teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Even for me, Kalahari has always been my favorite amongst the maps. Even though I kind of incline towards Burma at times, it still feels like Kalahari can give you so much more than any other map in terms of entertainment, in terms of drama. But I do believe the final map in the randomizer, bringing in Solara, could also bring in a lot of, new chefs in the making, because this time around all the teams out there who are actually at the bottom will be forced to take fights at the get-go, try to hold on to other different positions when it comes to reviving teammates, and hopefully we'll be able to see them do the same.
Speaking of Solara, it reminded me of before Solara was released, we have Nextera, and that was sort of like the wild card in the competitive pool. And back in 2023, when we still have high tier loot zone, in the global finals where Magic Squad won everything, that we got two back-to-back Nextera, two back-to-back high-tier loot zone in the same area, which was Intellect Center, which Magic Squad headed to because they were the only team that took that area and they won. And I was telling you that Skylar was a meta at that point, and they were the only team that brought in Skylar. The Brazilians believed in the Riptide Rhythm and they won the trophy as well. And then this is the kind of storyline that we love to see. And so that's why I think now that Kalahari is sort of back in the spotlight, I want to see it make a difference. Even in UFC 2024, Game 8, we got Kalahari, and that was the round where we had the top 3 teams, all Indonesians, and only Vitality could stop a trophy lift, and they clutched. They clutched Kalahari, we go Game 9, and then we went Game 10 where EVOS Divine finally won. So many things could go right there.
And amongst all these things, right, I feel that the Indians are also getting prepared for the better future, because I somewhere feel that the Indian players, they are getting adapted to all kinds of roles within a team. You might have seen a lot of guns being used, all different kinds of guns. At close range, you see them. At long range, you see them. So somewhere, I feel like the Indians might come out to be a different meta or a different ball game altogether. But ladies and gentlemen, we are just seconds away from getting into the final map. Do let us know which are the 3 teams you feel might not make it through as we step into the most chaotic map out there. This is where the sun shines brighter than the rest. The map of Solara and the flight path on our screens.
Let's see if this one is going to be a skilled one, because I love me a map, a flight path that is a bit, tilted. This one pretty tame right down the middle. Let's see if the deviations come true. Earlier on, we saw, I think, TEZ head towards the eastern side in between Casa Vista and Aquarium. And this time, it seems like they are going to completely forego that. So switching up the drop spot again.
This drop spots, there's a lot happening out here, ladies and gentlemen. PBS not having a great run. If they get eliminated, that could be a big opening for the rest of the squads below them. Honshu and Chris, they're trying to do their best. Eco, they pounce upon them. This could be a favor which is just coming back to them, because GODLIKE previous gaming, they tried to pounce upon them, but Honshu, he needs to run back hard, because GODLIKE, they might be on pursuit. Because they know if there's any other brain out there which can crack their code, it's got to be Nobita from this very team.
Not like this. Woo! Good stuff there. Shoto again. Just showing that he's always reliable. gets the pickup back. Kunal should get rescued very soon as well. But in the end, as we look at RNTX, 5 elims already right off the bat. I believe should be a hot drop of 2 teams. Sohan is going to be the elim leader for it now. But for PBS, like we saw earlier on, gotta take it slow, man. They just barely made it to the cutoff point of 60. And getting wiped out right now is going to basically guarantee that they do not make it to the next stage.
KINGZ, the sufferers. But again, we see a bit of a change for now. Revenant XSPARK on the other side with 5 elims. Godlike, they got that early 3 and suddenly they step into the vicinity of retired pros. They're starting to be just pickings for them. Somi has got keen eyes on Yogi, and that could be very, very good because Yogi has always been the trump card. Look at what he does. He says his teammates to fall back at this point of time. Yogi, can the sniper land one? For some reason, Yogi is holding on to his position. Probably his priority right now is to get to that vending machine and revive his fallen comrade. Has just got that 600 pointers. But Marco on the other side, he steps up to LFP, and it seems like he's going to get taken down.
Godlike pretty much scattered on this map. That it's going to cost them. They should be in a safe spot on the standing, but still a bit of an uncanny movement there. Kunal actually gets blasted in the face. But the rest of RNTX then backs up their teammate. And that's 9 eliminations already. And I feel like, you know, if you're NG, you gotta just back off, man. Just don't funnel into the meat grinder, because RNTX, they're gonna start coming for you. We have already lost ROFANI, and they unfortunately will not
Black.
make it.
Oh, there was a great opportunity for Black to, you know, weaken that of NG Pros. For some reason, he misses it out, and Gopu, he takes huge advantage of it as Badal, they come in together to take down Revenant XSPARK. Luckily, Kunal was able to revive 2 of their teammates. And that means NG Pros, they've got more pickings in front of them. At least Kunal might get taken down, and there it is. Another one just bites the dust, and NG Pros, they're going to welcome every other elimination they can pick up right now.
Pretty crazy that RNTX were in an advantageous position, and NG Pro somehow turned it around. You should see the disbelief on my face, because that was not what I expected. But RNTX, again, still in it to win it. Script getting a good one onto Itazo from long range. But MVP, they did have a breakout run in the previous round, and they are also pretty close to the cutoff point of 60. So this is a team that definitely have a good shot of making it to top 6.
MVPs, not having such a great position, but still they're trying to do their best, and that's something which I love. A fight to the finish, but KINGZ on the other side, they bow to the gods as most of them are getting picked off. 5 eliminations for Godlike. NG Pros have got 5, Revenant have got 9, and that means this time around Apex or Tag is the only team who is not involved in any kind of a kerfuffle.
Godlike finally able to reconvene with one another, but you can see that as much as they have some coins to work with in the bank, overall their arsenal is mediocre at most. Well, this is probably going to be another slow round. Marco is out in the open, and I believe they're trying to back him up, but meanwhile, NG Pros finding themselves their 6th elimination. We'll be able to take the zip line right into the circle as well. Godlike runs into RTP.
RTP struggle, shows his back, is gonna be punished as Eco on the other side. A fair trade comes through. Blood gets taken down. The Mac 10 came in a little late, and now Nancy, he falls back for revival. Somi as well. Both of them with the Thivas, and suddenly we see the 2v2 stand tall as it's gonna be Eco way too much in the open and very low on HP with the Bolt Maker doing so much of damage. Nancy repositions himself, and Eco says, I buy some time as you try to evacuate. Eco as well, he gets into a horse and he wants to run away from this position, but he's got to be shot at, and Nancy now is going to be in a lot of trouble as 2 of the players trying to do their best, and they find him as CLUTZA. They put an end for Godlike, and this could be for the better ending.
CLUTZA coming alive once more, carrying on the ties from the previous game as Rupesh with the overhead pump finds himself 2 for the team, and MVP And keeping that momentum from Game 5. You look at the teams that have more than 5 eliminations, right? We've got CLUTZA, we've got MVP, of course, REVENANT, XSPARK, NG, and LEARNFROMPAST. TEZ definitely slowing down. A couple of revives being bought. And KD really wants this leg shot, huh? Oh, Shoto got it.
TEZ, this has always been the case for the team, right? As one tries to, connect a shot, the other one comes in from an off angle, is like, this is mine. Shoto has got 3 already, proves that why is one of the best players on the Indian circuit. He's very, very good when it comes to close range. I know you've witnessed this firsthand in the EWC, but for now, we see REVENANT and XSPARK, their own pursuit to take down PVS as Krish puts up a, glue wall to restrict them from getting in closer. But can he do something out of it?
Gonna try, but unfortunately sprayed down by the UMP there. So basically overwhelmed by 3 members of RNTX as they have successfully recovered from quite the rocky start here. TEZ, even though playing slow, doesn't mean that they don't invite a challenge. It's MVP at their doorstep. Woven and Shoto will try to hold back the front and successfully redirects MVP to the side into the hands of KD God, who finds himself 2 in a row. And that will give TEZ the upper hand over MVP. And now they're forced to fight fire down with the last hell. Woven will get the collection there. TEZ with 3.
Oh, bit of a banter out there. It's the spice on the hurt. And this is why I call there's going to be a new chefs in town as they try to make things much more interesting. But, one thing I would like to say about TEZ, right? I've seen this time and again. If not for the finals, they always want to take the final game in their name. Get a booyah in the final game. Prepare themselves for the bigger picture. We all know what a champion rush does. You need to put up points and then suddenly you need to come up with a booyah. And they can't expect a better lobby than this to, practice that on.
I mean, with the current format that has been updated, the threshold of the champion rush condition now increased to 110.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot more windows for some of these teams to play catch up, especially the late bloomers. Teams that need some time to warm up their engines, and like you said, it plays pretty well into TEZ's hands. They are a team that need time to warm up, but when they get their engines going, we saw what happened on that world stage. They're able to put up a fight against some of the biggest names.
REVENANT XSPARK, 12 eliminations, and this team, even though they've got 128 points before this game, they're still looking forward for fights. They still want to carry the same momentum as they step into the knockout stages. Or rather, just one step away from that of, the grand finals. CLUTZA, they dodge. For now, they come into a lot of cover fire. Oh, claws. Oh, look at this team play mind games. I just love it. As one of the players are like, let me draw all the attention, where the rest of you try to go in the other direction.
I'm going to play a bit of bait and switch there from CLUTZA. Let's see if this sacrifice is worth it, because it's going to be quite a price to pay there. Sohan's going to collect some. Not so fast though. Bully and coaching again from long range. Repeating what they have done in the previous round against PVS. They're putting up a fight. Kunal trying to hold them back as much as possible, but CLUTZA is going to run them out the clock. And unfortunately for RNTX, they will suffer a casualty of their own as well. No one there to pick ours back up. And CLUTZA, they're going to come back for more. Claws up against Kunal. Riptide Rhythm breaks the glue wall, but Kunal gets absolutely body slammed there. As the clothesline comes through, Sohan will be the last vestige as he bails his team out of a sticky situation.
11 eliminations. My God, this man has turned out to be the predator of player for the team. 11 so far, and it seems like the whole team is just, giving him backup to do the same as well. Sohan, is he trying to make a new record out here as he goes to revive his teammates? Oh! At the nth moment, he gets taken down. Has he revived his teammates? Now that remains a big question.
He didn't get to. He got to the vending machine and got shot in the back of the dome. The RNTX, they are down to just one last man. I saw someone from CLUTZA waiting there. And this Koshik again, always finding the most optimal angle to make a play like this. And unfortunately for REVENANT XSPARK, It's going to be a tough road ahead if they don't find where the sniper was nested.
TAG, look at them. I've never seen this team play so slow. I've never seen this team play so defensive. This is what I say. Prepare yourself. Use the opportunity. And probably this is the only team or the only few teams I've seen use that treatment gun at times.
Oh, sharp one from KD God on the struggle. AWM starting to show its value there as they start to pepper the opponents. No confirmation, unfortunately, as Krish finds himself. PVS finally on the board with a couple of eliminations on their own, but a very slow game contrary to what we've seen in game 4 and 5. It might need a bit more juice to secure a solid spot in the top 6. And unfortunately, with the game time being the late game phase, PVS got to speed up.
All PBS is trying to do is make sure that they remove retired pros from this game, and that's the only way for them to qualify. As long as retired pros pick up points after points and previous they get eliminated amongst all that kerfuffle, they're going to be ending up with nothing but elimination. But Script now is going to be under a lot of trouble. I wonder what he's doing lying down out here flat on his belly, because CLUTZA, they'll try to push themselves. They'll try to see over the horizon, and once they do, that could be the end of the story for PBS.
It's looking pretty grim right now. Out in the open. And look at where CLUTZA is. Arca, they have such a good coverage of not just the circle, but the perimeter as well, with multiple teams, or in this case, KINGZ Army needing to make their way through, and no vending machine nearby for Script as well. And even if there is, he only has 400 coins to work with, so his hands are tied.
Oh, he'll have to get up and run. The more he tries to tank damage off the circle, that could be very dangerous for PBS. Whereas on the other side, it's KINGZ versus CLUTZA taking place out here. A 1v1. It's a good showdown taking place, but CLUTZA, they're just giving themselves to the crosshair. But luckily, their quick revives is kind of helping them for now. But King Light, he lights up the sky, does a 1v3, gets 3 valuable points for his team. But King Army, have they done enough? Do they have a chance to make it into the top 6?
Man, attempted heroics from Klaus there, but he needed to win a 1v2, which didn't happen. And unfortunately, Bully couldn't pick up the slack towards the tail end of things. And now RTP, this is their shot to make sure that PVS stays away from qualifications. I gotta make it out of this situation first, though, with KINGZ Army right in front of them. And LWP as well, the nade! Ready, good for it. But TAG also joins the equation and helps them out. RTP, no more.
RTP, they've got 7 points in total when it comes to eliminations, and PVS, they try to survive to get some more. Let me remind you that both these teams, if PVS has to qualify, they need more than 15 points for that of retired pros. I don't know how easy it's going to be. TAG, now they start to pick things off. Until now, they were preparing themselves for a 4v4 battle. Since they're going to be put in one of such situations, they're trying to do their best. The throwables, they're going in. Shots being taken. The rush comes in by Shoto and Wolwin. Lands perfectly. What a game this is turning out to be.
Hurricane TAG strike fast and completely uproots the foundations of their opponents. 17 eliminations. Both NG Pros and KINGZ Army still fairly healthy. So this could still go either way, but things are going according to just what you predicted early on. But TAG are always a big fan of a last round booyah finish. They're on their way to that. KINGZ Army trying to intercept that rotation, but Wolwin has actually snuck under the bridge. Could give them valuable intel as TAG with the glue wall melter will now threaten the defenses of KINGZ Army. And Sahil getting the first knock onto Flash. And Wolwin taking the bottom of the bridge is going to give TAG so much leverage.
My enemy's enemy is my friend, and that's what TAG does. Just puts that glue wall melters, making sure that the Kings get eliminated. And now it all comes down to the 2 best teams in the country. NG Pros as well as TAG. Both these teams head on Shoto, the frontline assaulter, is got to be leading this as Wolvin and himself getting in closer. Gopu is holding on to his position as well. Could be the first point of contact. Gopu gets taken down.
What?
Shoto puts down Badal as well as this Apex Predators pounce upon them. This could be a little problematic, but White goes. He lands one perfectly, but Shoto says it's a 1v4 for me as he pulls out the best booyah of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Team Apex Gaming, they share us why they are the best and the defending champions of this day. My goodness, look at the smiles on their face. And KDGOD, still relaxed, still looking forward for something more.
If I have soldiers like Shoto, I would be comfortably sitting on my couch like KDGOD does, because Shoto was a one-man army in that final fight and ace to get the booyah. Incredibly impressive. But on top of that, I believe he has 14 eliminations out of a 22 total that the team has. I believe this is going to be 34 points for Apex Gaming. Might not be enough to get the first place, but the most important thing is that they made it to knockout stage from Group A. But look at this final sequence, man. Shoto, a one-man show, basically decided that he is going to be the judge, jury, and executor. 14 eliminations and an ace for the booyah.
And thumbs up. He's like, I wanted to do this. I was wanting KDGOD to give me that opportunity, and finally when I pull it off, everybody has to know my name. It's Shoto 17 with 14 eliminations, 5,778 damage with that M590. My goodness. 4 assists. But the Drakey, always pouncing on the weaklings.
This is also the star player that won as well. The spotlight was on him. I remember his family was there as well. And he was also the one that led the charge to the very first booyah for the region. And now in the fall season, he comes out and does this. How could you not fear Shoto, man?
How could you not fear Shoto? How could you not fear TEZ? Once they decide that they need a booyah, they grab it by its throat and show to us why they are the defending champions. Where it's going to be Sahil, the Grenadier, an amazing support. Wolvin as well. We saw how well he was also supporting his teammate. And let me remind you, Wolvin was the MVP of the previous season.
Yeah, doesn't help that they have Nikita on their lineup as well. So good luck trying to heal through that grievous wounds when you have someone as ferocious as Shoto running in your face. As you can clearly see who did most of the takedowns there. 14 elims, like 16 knockdowns or something. But 34 points for Team Apex Gaming and a booyah to end the day, just like the doctor ordered. We've got quite the lobby here, right? I believe Lucifer and Azora did say that Group A feels like the group of death, and now I can see why.
Absolutely. For all those teams who fought hard, they're going to be rewarded for sure. Yes, KINGZ Army, they came in late, but they're going to leave a mark. A huge congratulations for them to getting 16 points in the final game, where it's the most, important game for all the teams out there. But this is how the cookie crumbled. All the teams surviving until the end who avoided fights were the team to survive this time around.
Yeah, craziest thing was that both LEARNFROMPAST and NG Pros got off to a insanely hot start. 8 elims for LFP and 10 for NG Pros. But then we see a bit of that slowdown, right? They started to focus on their rotation, picking out stragglers every now and then. And then when you look at Team Apex Gaming, it was just consistent. 4 in circle 1, 4 in circle 2, 4 in circle 3, and just picking the pieces up as they go. And the fact that this ended in circle 5 really speaks to, my observation so far of this being the Wild Wild West, because these teams just cannot wait to take each other out.
Yeah, absolutely. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the time for us to reveal which teams qualify. From the bottom is SGU as they fight hard. They fall short of at least 30 points. ROFANI, they try to do their best. MVP as well. KINGZ Army, they get 64. LEARNFROMPAST 67. PVS 69. And that is just 4 points or 3 points short of qualifying, as Retired Pros make it through with 72. GODLIKE, I was expecting to see in the top 3. but I'm happy that they make it through as well.
There's going to be a lot of what ifs on PBS Gaming's mind, and one of it that could have made a difference was if they didn't drop the ball in Game 5 against CLUTZA. That would have given them just the edge over RTP. But we also saw RTP, they were able to get a lot of eliminations in the early game, contrary to PBS, who decided to play it slow when it was crunch time, and they just did not have enough to make it through, to stick it until the very end. So very heartbreaking loss there for PBS Gaming. But here are the teams qualified for the knockout stage from Group A. We got REVENANT, XSPARK, Team Apex Gaming, CLUTZA Esports, NG Pros, GODLIKE Esports, and last but not least, Retired Pros.
Retired Pros coming out of retirement and making sure that they leave a statement out here. Especially struggle story from that of NG Pros to building up a team, relying on them and making sure that they come this far is going to be a story which is yet to be written in golden letters in case they make it through the knockout stages. But yes, 6 teams going forward from here and hoping to see some more join them, and the worthy of them will for sure make it into the next rounds.
There are going to be some important things to note as we prep for knockouts in the coming week, but we have to congratulate REVENANT, XSPARK as our top performers today, and how could they not be, right? They were Mr. Consistent all the way, and even in games where they had early exit, they already have garnered enough points to stay afloat. 145 total points, and 101 of them are from eliminations. This is just absurd from a single team in just 6 games.
Yeah, absolutely. That shows the kind of gameplay they have. But for now, the elimination leader obviously is got to be Shoto, showcasing some phenomenal gameplay in the final circles. Let's not forget that Sohan as well pulled off something exceptional. Harsh, Vincent, 3 players from REVENANT, XSPARK. No wonder they were the top performers of the day.
And of course, Bully as well from CLUTZA. Not only pulled off a clutch against PVS in round 5, but also able to keep the team together. But no one is above Shoto for now. Of course, closing out the final round with 14 eliminations, just enough for him to take the crown as the elimination leader at the end. We have some superstars here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Stars in the making for sure. But ladies and gentlemen, hope you guys have enjoyed it so far. Do let us know which team you feel could have made it through. I know that, most of you will go with PBS in case they had played well in the first 3 games, probably had a good start, and then they might have ended up well. But one thing which I have to say for PBS is if they had continued the momentum of the last 2 games, probably it would have been better, or probably be aggressive in the final circle or the final game would have been better for them.
Yeah, absolutely. There are going to be a lot of what-ifs for PBS, especially PBS, who I felt like came exceptionally close to that finishing line. And again, it really comes down to just those minor decisions, right? Like either you overheat, what if they take one less poor fight, right? They could have made a world of difference. But we get to focus on the teams that move on. We have some names, we have some dark horses. CLUTZA has shown some great grit towards the very end, and things are looking bright for them for knockouts.
Yeah, absolutely. But ladies and gentlemen, hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me remind you yet again that you survivors at times are greedy. Make sure you share it among your friends so that they also can come out here and enjoy all this action take place, because we have tried our best to entertain you guys. Myself, Arka and Husky, we are going to take adieu for now. This is TEZ Free Fire Max India Cup 2026 Fall. See you guys tomorrow.
One easy.